Chapter 2908. Su Fang never expected that Qiu Changfeng, who wanted to kill him, would reject him decisively. A battle of life and death? I'm not interested. Su Fang's eyes narrowed. Are you afraid? After witnessing Su Fang's strength, Qiu Changfeng finally realized that Su Fang's current strength was far beyond his expectations. How could he not be afraid of Su Fang? Qiu Changfeng snorted coldly. Revenge is a dish best served cold. Even if I lose to you, I still have a chance to win it back in the future. I'm not a fool. Why would I give you a chance to kill me? Su Fang revealed a disdainful look. A useless person who bullies the weak and fears the strong. You don't even have the courage to fight to the death. How can you be called a cultivator with such willpower? Your future achievements will be extremely limited. This is called being flexible. You have to defeat me first before you judge me. Make your move. Qiu Changfeng shouted coldly. A pair of wings suddenly extended from his back. They were not illusory wings of light. They were real wings formed by the power of his physical body. I heard that many cultivators in the southern profound divine region fuse their bodies at the perfection stage with the blood essence of divine beasts and demons to complement their techniques and abilities. As a result, they can unleash the innate abilities of divine beasts and demons. Qiu Changfeng has obviously cultivated this type of physical body ability. Su Fang stared at Qiu Changfeng with a serious look in his eyes. Although he was disdainful of Qiu Changfeng's actions and was confident that he could crush him, he would not let his guard down. There was no absolute weakling in a battle between cultivators. The slightest carelessness would lead to a crushing defeat and a cripple. This was the experience that Su Fang had summed up from the Pan Song universe. Whoosh! Qiu Changfeng flapped his wings. His figure flashed and disappeared into the void like a gust of wind. Invisibility ability? Su Fang projected his senses at the perfection stage, but he could not sense Qiu Changfeng's aura at all. In the blink of an eye, from the void behind Su Fang, more than a dozen sharp wind blades whizzed out, cutting cracks in the space. It was truly terrifying. Qiu Changfeng unleashed his innate ability. Not only did he conceal himself, but he also possessed the ability to teleport through space. As expected of one of the top geniuses of the southern profound divine region, he possessed extraordinary abilities. Su Fang was caught off guard. In terms of speed, he was no match for Qiu Changfeng. He had no choice but to defend himself. Blood armor quickly formed around his body. Chi. The wind blades collided with the blood armor, creating dazzling Xian Guang sparks. It was truly gorgeous. The blood armor, which had astonishing defensive capabilities, shattered the wind blades. However, there were more than a dozen deep cuts on the blood armor. Su Fang, this is just the appetizer. The main course is waiting for you. Qiu Changfeng's complacent laughter came from all directions. Suddenly Su Fang, in the state of the blood evil Dharma body, released a sword qi that contained the will of slaughter and shot it more than 100 feet to the right. An illusory figure flashed. It was Qiu Changfeng who had concealed himself. Qi. Su Fang grabbed more than a dozen sword qi and shot it at the invisible Qiu Changfeng. Qiu Changfeng continuously teleported before disappearing into the void. However, every time Su Fang's sword qi hit him, he had no choice but to reveal himself and escape from the void. You can actually see through my concealment ability? Qiu Changfeng looked at Su Fang in disbelief. Su Fang mocked. The ability you think is extraordinary is just a small trick in front of me. As for you, Qiu Changfeng, you are just a clown in my eyes. Qiu Changfeng's concealment ability was indeed very powerful, but it was still inferior to the one-leaf concealment talisman of the Yi clan. Su Fang's life-shrinking technique sensed the aura of fate. Even the one-leaf concealment talisman could not escape Su Fang's senses, let alone Qiu Changfeng's concealment ability. Unless he could conceal his own aura of fate. Su Fang sneered and said, "Show me your true strength." Jumping up and down like a clown will only make me laugh. Arrogant. I have fused with the blood essence of the hurricane god-winged eagle since I was young. I have the innate ability of a divine bird. Besides concealment, I also have a speed that is beyond your imagination. Next, I will show you my unparalleled speed that surpasses the shackles of space, the chaotic thousand illusions concealment technique. Qiu Changfeng flapped his wings with all his might, stirring up a gust of wind. With a flash, he entered the void with a swoosh. In an instant, he appeared less than 100 feet away from Su Fang. Su Fang had just condensed a thought to attack when Qiu Changfeng's figure flashed again and disappeared into the void. When he appeared again, he was already on the right side of Su Fang. Not only was his speed unbelievably fast, but there was also no pattern to his movements. He was completely unrestrained by space. Swoosh, swoosh. In the blink of an eye, Qiu Changfeng teleported more than 10 times, leaving behind afterimages. The entire space became chaotic and Su Fang was trapped in a chaotic world. He had actually used a supreme movement technique to mess up space and interfere with Su Fang's senses. He shackled Su Fang and then launched a fatal attack. Su Fang's eyes flashed with the light of deduction. Heavenly prying eye. Then, he grabbed a beam of slaughter sword chi and shot it out. Poof! Qiu Changfeng was hit by the sword chi as soon as he appeared. It did not feel like the sword chi had hit him. Instead, it felt like he had sent himself to it. Qiu Changfeng was like a big bird that had been shot by a sharp arrow. He flipped a few times before stabilizing himself. Fortunately, only his physical defense was broken by the sword chi. He was not seriously injured. This time is a fluke. It must be a fluke. Qiu Changfeng gritted his teeth. His figure flashed and he attacked again. Whoosh, whoosh, fluke. These 3 times were all fluke. No one can break my chaotic illusions escape technique. 3 more bloody holes appeared on Qiu Changfeng's body. His eyes were filled with pain and dissatisfaction. After gritting his teeth, he charged towards Su Fang again. This time, his speed was even faster. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. After more than 10 times, Qiu Changfeng had more than 10 bloody holes on his body. The sharp and cold slaughter chi seeped into his body, causing him to feel cold all over. His Dao heart was also affected and could not help but tremble. His heart was filled with shock as he looked at Su Fang with eyes full of disbelief. At this time, Qiu Changfeng obviously did not think that Su Fang had gotten lucky. Many of the competitors were dumbfounded when they saw this scene. They could not understand how Qiu Changfeng's powerful talent was so weak in front of Su Fang. Su Fang sneered and said, "I said earlier that your insignificant skills are completely useless in front of me, Su Fang. Put away your clown-like trick. If you don't bring out your strongest strength, I'm afraid that you won't have any chance later." Many of the competitors' laughter came from the surrounding altars. Qiu Changfeng's action earlier was indeed like a clown. Although he put in all his effort to perform, what he gained was only the laughter of others. Qiu Changfeng's Dao heart became pale due to the impact of the slaughter chi. When he heard Su Fang's ridicule and everyone's mocking, his face instantly turned red. At this time, he was already somewhat regretful. He would rather have a fight to the death with Su Fang than suffer such ridicule and humiliation. Su Fang, you forced this seat to do this. This seat obtained a supreme divine ability in Void Valley. Coupled with the peerless cultivation method and innate ability that this seat cultivates, executing this divine ability is sufficient to kill the limits of Dao Profound Realm. I originally planned to leave it for the top 10 ranking battle. Now, I'll let you experience the power of my supreme divine ability first. Even if I can't kill you, I'll still severely injure you? Annihilation Storm. Qiu Changfeng gnashed his teeth. When had he ever suffered such humiliation in the southern profound divine region? His face started to distort, turning into an eagle's face. a fierce and violent aura that only Big Goblin had spread out. A sharp whistling sound circled and whistled around him, as if a world-destroying storm was brewing. Whoosh! The wings behind Qiu Changfeng danced wildly, setting off a monstrous storm. Immediately after, his entire person rapidly turned into nothingness. In the end, he turned into a tornado that soared into the sky. It whistled and spun, engulfing the space of the altars. Su Fang was caught in the storm. His figure danced wildly with the wind uncontrollably. His physical body, Dao Palace, and even his soul were about to be torn into pieces by the storm. At the same time, dense and sharp wind blades continuously cut his body. His defenses started to shatter layer by layer. Blood prison soul slashing blade. Su Fang stabilized his Dao heart and used the willpower visualization technique. At the same time, he also activated the Blood Fiend avatar. Blood light soared into the sky, condensing into a world of blood light in the surroundings in an instant. A lifelike blood-robed Su Fang descended from the world of blood light like a god of death. Then, he slashed out with his blade. Qi. The surrounding world of violent winds started to shatter layer by layer as the river-like blood-red blade light swept across. Stop, I admit defeat. Qiu Changfeng's voice came from the chaotic storm. Su Fang turned a deaf ear to it. He released a thought that turned into a resplendent blade light and exploded. Different from the blood prison soul slashing blade, this blade was domineering and incomparably sharp. It could destroy everything. It was unstoppable and invincible. The surrounding storm was forcefully shattered by this blade. Very quickly, it became calm. Qiu Changfeng screamed in agony. He appeared from the calm storm and staggered. His left arm had been chopped off. He was now an armless person. Then, he opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of blood mixed with ice shards. His face was as pale as a sheet of paper. He looked at Su Fang with shock and fear in his eyes. Su Fang's Blood Fiend avatar was originally the most powerful avatar. In addition, he had mastered the willpower visualization technique. Not only did this blade severely injure Qiu Changfeng, but it also hurt his Dao heart. The second blade was the blade technique that Su Fang had obtained in Su Ruo Valley. Although it was incomplete, its power was extremely domineering. Su Fang, why didn't you use your most powerful finger? Qiu Changfeng stared at Su Fang. His eyes were filled with unwillingness and despair. You are not qualified. Su Fang's contemptuous tone was like a sharp blade that stabbed Qiu Changfeng's heart. Chapter 2909. Su Fang then mercilessly stabbed Qiu Changfeng's Dao heart. Besides, that finger wasn't my most powerful move. With your strength, you don't deserve to see my most powerful attack. Crack! A sound that couldn't be heard by the ear came from Qiu Changfeng's heart. Qiu Changfeng screamed in agony and fainted on the ground. His Dao heart had been severely injured by the blood-prisoned soul-slaying saber, and now it was completely shattered. Su Fang vs. Qiu Changfeng, Su Fang wins. The Jiuxuan expert announced loudly and then used his divine might to sweep Qiu Changfeng out of the altar and out of the Blood Valley. Qiu Changfeng's Dao heart was shattered and he was heavily injured. He had completely lost the ability to fight and couldn't continue the fight. He could only be sent away. Sima Xiaoxiao's cold voice sounded, Su Fang, you don't have any enmity with Qiu Changfeng. He had already admitted defeat, but you still attacked him mercilessly, severely injuring him and shattering his Dao heart. We're both humans, why are you so cruel? Su Fang smiled coldly. Why didn't you say you were cruel when you ordered the Dongxian cultivators to use the Xuelua talisman in the Xuelua Valley? Previously, Qiu Changfeng instigated Yin Changhe to deal with me using evil means to kill me. Why didn't you say that he was ruthless then? Qiu Changfeng is a cultivator of the southern mystic divine region. You destroyed his arm and shattered his Dao heart, which is equivalent to cutting off his cultivation. Since I've encountered this, I won't sit idly by. If you meet me in the top 10 ranking matches, I won't let you go. When the time comes, I'll fight with all my strength. Su Fong smiled awkwardly and sat down cross-legged on the altar. The next 7 matches for the top 10 lasted for 3 days. The top 10 of the Jiuxuan's heavens chosen ones were finally born. Xu Chongxiao of the Luo Xiao sword sect, Gu Tianqi of the 3 highest profound sects, Su Fong, Dongxian Hui Huang, and Eastern Profound Divine Realm cultivators had only taken 4 spots in the top 10 of Blood Valley. Such a result made all the cultivators from the Eastern Profound Divine Realm feel humiliated. Sima Xiaoxiao, the young man from the demon race, the prince of the Peng race, Gung Ming, another genius from another divine realm, and the genius from the Southern Profound Divine Realm, Fu Xinai. The participants from the other divine realms were mainly the geniuses of the Southern Profound Divine Realm and the experts of the demon race. It wasn't that the cultivators of the Eastern Profound Divine region were weak, but that the cultivators of the Southern Profound Divine region and the Big Goblin were too strong. The cultivators of the Eastern Profound Divine Realm placed their only hope on Su Fong. Only if the first place fell into the hands of a cultivator from the Eastern Profound Divine Realm would they be able to regain some face. The divine light of the Jiuxuan expert swept over the 10 powerful geniuses. He nodded and said, "I will give you 1,000 years to leave the Blood Valley to rest and recover. After 1,000 years, the top 10 ranking battle will take place. Every 2 of you will have to face each other in the top 10. When the time comes, there will be fierce battles. Go." As the Jiuxuan expert nodded, he waved his hand and swept Su Fong and the other geniuses out of the Blood Valley. The battle in the sky above Slaughter Mountain was still ongoing. The remaining 1,000 or so people would fight for the empty spots in the top 100. Originally, there were only 28 spots, but during the battle for the top 10, 5 of them had either died or been seriously injured, leaving 33 spots empty. After the top 100 was determined, the ranking battle would take place. It wouldn't be short, so Su Fong and the other geniuses would have time to rest and recuperate. Although the battle in the sky above Slaughter Mountain was still intense, it didn't attract as much attention as the previous battle for the top 10. Even more people were paying attention to the top 10 ranking battles 1,000 years later. As soon as Su Fong appeared in Dallas City, the leader of the Dallas faction immediately flew over and cupped his fists at Su Fong. He said politely, "Supreme Elder Spring Autumn, Great Elder Changsun, Great Elder Luo Xiao Sword Sect, and other lords from various forces of the Eastern Profound Divine Realm have specially set up a banquet to congratulate the top 10 geniuses of Jiuxuan. Young Master Su Fong, please attend the banquet. Please tell the lords that I've been in a series of fierce battles. Not only did I expend a lot of energy, I'm also heavily injured. The top 10 ranking battle is imminent, and I need to focus on preparing for it. I can't attend the banquet. Farewell." Su Fong politely declined, and then headed straight out of Dallas City. He was in a hurry to return to Fangtian City. How could he have the time to feign civility with Supreme Elder Spring Autumn and the rest? He didn't even give face to a big shot like Supreme Elder Spring Autumn. Impressive and domineering. Only Su Fong can be so domineering in the entire Eastern Profound Divine Realm. The leader of the Dallas faction shook his head with a wry smile and returned to report to Supreme Elder Spring Autumn and the rest. Supreme Elder Spring Autumn had set up a banquet in the city lord's residence to rope in the top 10 geniuses of Dongxian, mainly Su Fong. Even if he couldn't rope him in, at least he had to find a way to eliminate the resentment in his heart. Other than Supreme Elder Spring Autumn, Dongxuan's powerhouses had all shown up, making Gu Tianqi, Xu Chongxiao, and the rest who came to the banquet feel flattered. Even Dongxuan's glory was extremely humble. Only Su Fong was missing. Hearing the leader of the Dallas faction's report, a shadow flashed in Supreme Elder Spring Autumn's eyes. He then smiled and praised, "The younger generation should be like Su Fong, neither servile nor overbearing, cultivating wholeheartedly. Only then can they achieve extraordinary result. Grand Elder Changsun of the Three Supremes' mysterious sects snorted coldly, arrogant and conceited. Grand Elder Luo Shao smiled and said, cultivators should not covet glory, splendor, wealth, and position, and should not fawn over the strong. This Su Fang, I like this kind of junior brat. Dongxuan's Glory's face darkened. Gu Tianqi and Shu Chongshao chuckled bitterly as well. The Grand Elder of the Luo Shao sword sect was frank and outspoken. If Su Fang didn't covet glory and wealth and didn't flatter the powerful, then what were they? Su Fang executed the burning light escape art, pushing this skill to its limits as he sped away like a burning flame. Fangtian City was in sight. Looking over, Su Fang raised his eyebrows. Why are there so many people coming to Fangtian City? Is there someone as blind as the unscrupulous old devil who dares to find trouble with Fangtian City? Outside Fangtian City, countless cultivators came riding on their sword. There were also many flying xian bao and moving abode. It looked very lively. Observing with his extraordinary vision, Su Fang realized that these cultivators who came to Fangtian City were all well-behaved. There was no conflict, obviously they weren't here to attack Fangtian City. Su Fang arrived outside Fangtian City in a flash. After forming a seal, the barrier automatically parted to form a passage, allowing Su Fang to pass through the formation. Su Fang, the cultivator who entered Fangtian City just now, looks like Su Fang. Su Fang? Su Fang has returned to Fangtian City. We've made the right choice this time. We might be able to see Su Fang. That's a great opportunity. A sharp-eyed cultivator recognized Su Fang, causing a huge commotion outside the city. Su Fang came to the palace in the depths of Fangtian City. Xuanxin, Luo Weidao, Sang Qiu, Xiao Wanting, Qin Heng, Hua Tiannu, Gao Tianlei, and the others were already waiting outside the palace. Congratulations, Master, for becoming one of the Eastern Xian Divine Domain's top 10 geniuses. Qin Heng and his subordinates came forward to greet him. Their gazes towards Su Fang were filled with reverence, excitement, and fanaticism. Su Fang, you've really defied the heavens. From now on we, the slaves who were abandoned by the heavens from low-level universes, can hold our heads high in the Eastern Xian Divine Domain. Who would dare to bully us? Hua Tiannu praised loudly. Gao Tianlei was also very excited. Su Fang was also very happy. When he first came to Dongxian, he was still a false god in the eyes of the Jiuxuan Divine Domain cultivators. He had been reduced to a slave, bullied, and even hunted down. In a short period of time, he had risen to become the top genius of the Eastern Xian Divine Domain. Whether it was in terms of strength or status, he was on equal footing with the powerhouses of the Eastern Xian Divine Domain. How could Su Fang not be happy with such an impressive achievement? With strength and status, not only Su Fang, but his family, friends, subordinates, and the many cultivators and big goblin from the Pansong universe in the heavenly Tao Dharma body would also have the ability to survive in the Jiuxuan Divine Domain from now on. They entered the palace. Su Fang took out the purple jade divine marrow and gave half of it to Xuanxin. The purple jade divine marrow was formed through countless years of refinement by the top expert of the chrysalis race with his own aura and various spiritual items. Su Fang had killed the strongest expert of the chrysalis race in the 5th stage and obtained this supreme treasure from his storage ring. It was of great use to Xuanxin and Goddess Luo. Xuanxin was surprised and delighted when he heard that the purple jade divine marrow could restore his look. Then, Su Fang took out the divine phoenix blood essence he had obtained in the 1st stage and gave a third to Xuanxin to cultivate. He divided the rest into 2 portions and gave one each to Qingyu and Bai Ling. With these supreme treasures, Xuanxin, Qingyu, and Bai Ling's strength would undergo a great transformation. Qin Heng, find me an artificer. The best kind, of course. Su Fang then transmitted his thoughts to Qin Heng. Su Fang had also obtained a pile of crafting materials in the shape of bee wings in the storage ring of the supreme powerhouse of the chrysalis race. Su Fang intended to use them to refine a flight-type mystic artifact. It just so happens that the Divine Cauldron Palace, the most famous artificer sect in the Eastern Profound Divine region, has sent an elder to visit you. Master can give the materials to the Divine Cauldron Palace. They will definitely be able to refine an extraordinary Xian Bao. That would be great. However, time is tight. It would be best if it could be refined within 1,000 years. 1,000 years is a bit of a rush. I will go find the Divine Cauldron Palace right now. The Divine Cauldron Palace had sent an elder to Square Sky City to befriend and express their goodwill to Su Fang. However, Su Fang announced that he was in seclusion the moment he returned to Square Sky City. The Divine Cauldron Palace elder was greatly disappointed, but he still stayed in Square Sky City. When Su Fang asked the Divine Cauldron Palace to refine an Xian Bao, the Divine Cauldron Palace elder was pleasantly surprised and naturally agreed. Therefore, Su Fang handed the pair of wings to the Divine Cauldron Palace elder. At the same time, he took out the True Yang Evil Vanquishing Sword and asked the Divine Cauldron Palace to help improve its quality. Chapter 29:10. While Su Fang was cultivating in seclusion, there was an endless stream of powerhouses and powerhouses from various forces that came to visit Square Heaven City. There were also many wandering cultivators and forces from heaven-forsaken desolate region who came to seek refuge in Square Sky City. Square Sky City became very lively. However, Su Fang's seclusion made many people leave disappointed. On this day, Su Fang flew out of Xianlang Grotto Heaven and walked out from the depths of the palace to the main hall. Someone who could force Su Fang to stop his seclusion and come to meet was naturally someone he had to meet. Of course, it was not a big shot, but the Chun clan from the Mirror Moon Profound World. The Mirror Moon Profound World was a profound world force in the Eastern Profound Divine region, but it was not a top force. Su Fang came to meet because this Chun clan was the family of Dongxian Zheng and Dongxian Rong. Su Fang and Dongxian Rong had a promise of more than 1,000,000 years. When he fought with Dongxian Zheng, regardless of the outcome, he would hand over Su Fang's grandfather's soul. However, things were different now. With Su Fang's current strength and status, he did not need to worry about Dongxian Zheng and Dongxian Rong's identities. He planned to save his grandfather's soul as soon as possible. Greetings, young Master Su Fang. There were 2 guests from the Chun clan. When they saw Su Fang, a scholarly old man hurriedly cupped his fists and bowed to Su Fang in fear and trepidation. The other white-haired old man with snow-white hair and a thin face hurriedly stood up when he saw Su Fang. However, he did not appear as frightened as the scholarly old man. You are the Chun clan's patriarch? Su Fang looked at the scholarly old man and asked. The scholarly old man hurriedly replied, I am the Chun clan's patriarch. My disciples Dongxian Rong and Dongxian Zheng have rudely offended young master Su Fang. I have come to apologize to Su Fang. Su Fang asked, Where is Dongxian Rong? Dongxian Zheng was participating in the finals of the Blood Valley and was still inside the Blood Valley. Dongxian Rong, on the other hand, was not participating in the finals. The Chun clan leader replied, Dongxian Rong followed Lord Hong Daoyuan to the Heavenly Fate stage and became a core disciple. I see. Su Fang was stunned. He didn't expect Dongxian Rong to be able to enter the Heaven's Fate stage. This is... Su Fang looked at the white-haired elder. The Chun clan leader said, This is Medicine God Dao's elder, Master Apothecary Chu. Medicine God Path? Su Fang had heard of the Medicine God Dao before. It was the strongest alchemy sect in the Eastern Profound Divine Realm, and it was as famous as the Divine Cauldron Palace. What Su Fang found strange was why the Chun clan leader had brought people from the Medicine God Dao here. He was just about to ask the Chun clan leader about his grandfather's soul. Buzz buzz buzz. Inside Su Fang's Jiuxuan Dao Palace, the mysterious Dao runes from the heavenly fate life shrinking technique suddenly flickered. Su Fang was shocked and stunned. He hurriedly used the heavenly fate life shrinking technique to sense Master Apothecary Chu's fate aura. He discovered that there was a faintly discernible fate aura on Master Apothecary Chu's body. It was this fate aura that caused the Dao runes of fate to react. However, the fate aura was extremely weak and faintly discernible. If Su Fang's cultivation hadn't increased and his mastery of the heavenly fate life shrinking technique hadn't reached a higher level, he wouldn't have been able to sense anything. Could it be that this Master Apothecary Chu has some sort of fate connection with me? Su Fang was puzzled. The Chun clan leader said embarrassedly, I originally wanted to bring Dong Xian Rong along to apologize to young Master Su Fang. However, Dong Xianrong is at the Heaven's Fate stage. She asked me to bring Master Apothecary Chu along. She said that as long as young Master Su Fang sees Master Apothecary Chu, he will understand everything. Su Fang was shocked. When he carefully sensed Master Apothecary Chu's fate aura, Su Fang faintly understood what was going on. Dong Xianrong had once said that she had made appropriate arrangements for Su Fang's grandfather's soul. This time, Dong Xianrong had asked the Chun clan leader to bring along an elder from the Medicine Divine Way. Within the fate aura of this Medicine Divine Way's Master Apothecary Chu, there was an aura that was connected to Su Fang's fate. It was obvious that Dong Xianrong had already arranged for his grandfather's soul to be reincarnated in the Medicine Divine Way. Furthermore, she had frequently interacted with this Master Apothecary Chu. Unexpectedly, Su Fang had never imagined that Dong Xianrong would make such arrangements for his grandfather's soul. At the same time, Su Fang felt a chill run down his spine when he saw Dong Xianrong scheming. Dong Xianrong had long seen that Su Fang's talent was extraordinary and that he would definitely not be an ordinary person in the future. Thus, after she captured Su Fang's grandfather's soul, she arranged for him to be reincarnated in the Medicine Divine Way. The Medicine Divine Way was the #1 alchemy force in the Eastern Xian Divine Domain. For Su Fang's grandfather to be reincarnated in the Medicine Divine Way, it could be said that he had obtained great fortune. If Su Fang became a powerful expert, just this matter alone would be enough to resolve the hatred between Su Fang and Dong Xianrong. If Su Fang became a nobody in the future, it would not be a loss for Dong Xianrong. Dong Xianrong is a powerful woman. Su Fang's heart was filled with emotions and shock. However, he did not ask Master Apothecary Chu any further. Right now, the matter had not been confirmed and he could not confirm who his grandfather's reincarnation was. If it was exposed too early and his enemies found out, it would be a huge problem. When the Chun clan leader saw Su Fang's expression, he did not understand but felt that it was amazing. After hesitating for a while, he continued, coincidentally, the Medicine Divine Way has a troublesome matter and would like to ask young Master Su Fang for help. Thus, I took the liberty to bring Master Apothecary Chu to meet young Master Su Fang. Su Fang was surprised. Ask for my help? Master Apothecary Chu cupped his fists at Su Fang and said, the matter is like this. A disciple of the Medicine Divine Way was invited by the Chamber of Commerce to refine elixirs. In the end, the elixir he refined killed someone. That Chamber of Commerce is unwilling to let go of the Medicine Divine Way and wants to control the Medicine Divine Way and make it a vassal of the Chamber of Commerce. Su Fang asked in astonishment, the Medicine God Path is a pill-refining sect in the Eastern Profound Divine Realm. There should be many forces and experts that are on good terms with them. What kind of merchant guild would be so greedy as to swallow the Medicine God Path? Master Apothecary Chu smiled bitterly. That Chamber of Commerce is not ordinary. The person behind it is the descendant of the Daozu. The descendant of the Dongxian Daozu? Su Fang raised his eyebrows. He did not expect the Medicine Divine Way's troubles to involve the Dongxian Daozu. No wonder no one dared to help the medicine divine way. The Chun clan leader hurriedly explained, the expert behind the Chamber of Commerce is not the descendant of the Daozu. Moreover, the Daozu strictly ordered his descendants not to interfere with the affairs of the various forces in the Eastern Xian divine domain. That Chamber of Commerce is just using the name of the Lord Daozu. Master Apothecary Chu sighed helplessly. This matter is really troublesome. The medicine divine way is not related to young Master Su Fong. I have troubled young Master Su Fong. I will take my leave now. Master Apothecary Chu was obviously at his wits' end. He was dragged to see Su Fong by the Chun clan leader and asked for Su Fong's help. He did not have much hope in a hopeless situation. Seeing that Su Fong was troubled, Master Apothecary Chu was about to leave. Su Fong suddenly said, "If I become the medicine divine way's guest elder, I wonder if I can stop the Chamber of Commerce?" The Chun clan leader was stunned. Master Apothecary Chu was stunned for a moment before he was overjoyed. That's enough, that's enough. With young Master Su Fong's current reputation and your status as one of the top 10 Jiuxuan's Heaven's Choice, even the Lord Daozu is paying attention to young Master. If young Master condescends to become the medicine divine way's guest elder, that Chamber of Commerce will definitely not have the guts to swallow the medicine divine way. Su Fong nodded and said, "That's good. I will let one of my Dharmakayas accompany Master Apothecary Chu to the medicine divine way. He will be the medicine divine way's guest elder." This. Master Apothecary Chu was hesitant. He was afraid that Su Fong would be the same as the Chamber of Commerce. It would be easier to invite the devil than to send him away. Su Fong changed to a primordial spirit telepathic message. "Master Apothecary Chu, don't worry. I have no intention of meddling with the medicine divine way. The reason I am helping the medicine divine way is because one of my close relatives has been reincarnated in the medicine divine way." Master Apothecary Chu was suddenly enlightened and his heart calmed down. Su Fong looked at the Chun clan leader and said, "Lord clan leader, the grudges between me, Dong Xianjing, and Dong Xianrong are written off. You don't have to worry about anything. Thank you, young Master Su Fong, for your magnanimity." The Chun clan leader was surprised and happy. He thanked Su Fong profusely. Su Fong immediately released his heavenly Dharma body and let it accompany Master Apothecary Chu to the medicine divine way. Without the heavenly Dharma body by his side, Su Fong's overall strength would definitely be affected. However, the impact was not great. Inside the heavenly Dharma body was a complete universe. There were countless cultivators, Big Goblin, and Su Fong's friends and subordinates in the Pan Song universe's small worlds, great worlds, and myriad worlds. Therefore, Su Fong rarely used the heavenly Dharma body's strength. Su Fong finally found his grandfather's whereabout. In his opinion, this matter was more important than the finals of the Blood Valley. To be cautious, Su Fong directly let the heavenly Dharma body go to confirm it and then guard the medicine divine way. In addition, Su Fong also planned to choose a suitable spacetime in the Eastern Xian divine domain and turn the heavenly Dharma body into a universe. This way, it could continuously absorb the energy in the chaotic void and grow rapidly. After sending off the Chun clan leader and Master Apothecary Chu, Su Fong let out a long sigh of relief. One of his biggest goals from the Pan Song universe to the Eastern Xian divine domain was to save his grandfather's soul. Now, he was not 100% sure that his grandfather's reincarnation was in the medicine divine way. However, with Su Fong's current strength and reputation, Dong Xianrong would not dare to lie to him about this matter. It would be meaningless to do so. With his grandfather's matter settled, Su Fong naturally felt more relaxed. There's one more thing. Gestating the heavenly Dharma core, he still lacked one of the spiritual items needed to cultivate the heavenly Dharma core. Now, he could not cultivate it. It was not difficult to find the missing spiritual item. After the top 10 ranking battle, he would have the opportunity to choose a treasure from Dong Xian Tian's treasury. He would definitely be able to find the missing spiritual item. With his relationship with the Medicine Divine Way, Su Fang could ask the experts of the Medicine Divine Way to help him cultivate the heavenly Dharma core. The purple jade divine marrow that Su Fang obtained in the 5th stage of the finals of the Blood Valley could be used to nourish the heavenly Dharma core. For this, Su Fang specially asked Shi Xian Daozu for advice. The method was very simple. Soak the heavenly Dharma core in the purple jade divine marrow and let it absorb the life energy and essence in the divine marrow. After that, Su Fang settled into a state of secluded cultivation. Chapter 29:11. Su Fang had been in seclusion in the Xianlang cave abode for more than 20,000 years, and more than 900 years had passed in the outside world. There was not much time left before the top 10 ranking battle. At this moment, Su Fang had advanced into the intermediate level of the Daolord realm, so the amount of accumulation he required to advance had become extremely vast. After over 20,000 years of cultivation, Su Fang had barely attained the normal state of an intermediate-level Daolord, and he was still far away from the peak of the intermediate-level Daolord realm. This was the result of Su Fang's sky-piercing Blood King vine devouring the Heart-Destroyer grandmother's cultivation, pills, and mystical items. If he didn't possess such shocking cultivation resources and the devouring ability of the Heaven-Piercer Blood King vine, then if he cultivated honestly like most cultivators, then he would probably need a few 100,000 years or even 1,000,000 years of bitter cultivation before he could attain the intermediate Daolord realm. In addition to his cultivation, Su Fang's other gains were also not small. In the main pagoda of the Su Ruo Valley, he had used the heart of the alien race expert, Slayer, to sense the heavenly Tao. Over the past 20,000 years of cultivation and comprehension, his grasp of the Jiuxuan Limitless Sutra had improved by a lot. His realm in the cultivation of the Great Tao had also improved by a lot. The strength of the sky-piercing Blood King Ratan, Gui Gui, and the other avatars had also improved significantly. This was especially true for the sky-piercing Blood King vines and Gui Gui. They were devouring the corpses of the chrysalis race cultivators without restraint. What made Su Fang very happy was that Xuanxin, Qingyu, Bailing, and Luo were also cultivating in the Xianlang cave abode. Their improvement over the years was also very shocking. After absorbing the purple jade divine nectar, Xuanxin's face had completely recovered. Moreover, after fusing with the divine phoenix blood essence, his cultivation base continued to break through. At this moment, he had already reached the peak of the Tao Truth upper realm. Qingyu and Bai Ling had long reached a level beyond the Pan-Tsang universe, and with the help of a part of the divine phoenix blood, they were almost as strong as Xuanxin. Law's strength is the highest at this time. As a member of the Shura divine clan, he only needed to constantly devour the blood of living beings to rapidly improve his strength. With the resources provided by Su Fang, how could his speed of improvement not be astonishing? Law's current strength was comparable to an intermediate Daolord. These were Su Fang's closest relatives and friends. Seeing them become stronger together with him, Su Fang was naturally overjoyed. When the top 10 ranking battle is over, it's time to return to the Pan-Tsang universe and completely resolve the matter of evil god's descent. With Su Fang's current strength, it would be easy for him to destroy a low-level universe, and it wouldn't be difficult for him to solve the problem of Pan-Tsang universe. Suddenly a thought traveled through the formation and came to the depths of the palace. It turned into Qin Heng's shadow outside the Xianlang Grotto heaven. "Master, a guest is here." "A very important guest?" Su Fang asked in surprise. If it was not a very important guest, Qin Heng also would not come and disturb him when he was in closed-door cultivation. It's a big shot from the central profound divine region's Yi clan, accompanied by Tua Qianji and exalted Spring Autumn. They're waiting in the reception hall of the city lord's mansion. Middle Mystic Leaf clan? Su Fang raised his eyebrows and realized that trouble was coming. However, there was nothing to be afraid of. No one could prove that Yi Feibai's death had anything to do with Su Fang. As for Yi Feishuan, he was chased out of the Blood Valley for provoking Jiuxuan's experts. It had nothing to do with Su Fang. Besides, even if the Yi clan caught Su Fang killing Yi Feibai, the Yi clan could not touch him at all with his current status in Dongxian. He immediately flew out of the Xian Lang Grotto heaven and towards the city lord's mansion. Suddenly the surrounding environment changed drastically. What his eyes saw was no longer the scene of Fang Tian City, but a world of blooming peach blossoms. The fragrance of the flowers assailed his nostrils, and the falling petals were so beautiful that one could not help but want to indulge in it. Su Fang's consciousness was about to sink into the world of peach blossoms. Suddenly, the 7 colors Vajra's Dao heart flashed with an icy aura, waking Su Fang's consciousness. He saw a woman standing in front of him with her hands behind her back. She was dressed in a light yellow robe and had a peerless face that was breathtakingly beautiful. Will visualization technique. Su Fang's heart skipped a beat. To be able to execute the will visualization technique, that was a technique that only Dao profound experts who surpassed Dao lords could execute. Because Su Fang possessed the 7 colors Vajra's Dao heart, the power of his will was incomparably strong. That was why he could execute the will visualization technique, blood prison soul slaying saber. The woman in front of him had a non-existent aura and could execute the will visualization technique. She was obviously a Dao profound expert. Su Fang shouted coldly, "Who are you? How dare you ambush me in Fang Tian City? The Eastern Xian Divine Region's cultivators are about to praise you to the heavens. Seeing you today, you do have some skills. No wonder Yi Feibai died in your hands, and even Yi Feishuan was disgraced by you." The woman's voice was cold but very pleasant to the ears, but her tone was filled with a rare domineering and heroic spirit. "So you're from the Yi clan?" Su Fang understood at once and said coldly, "You came to Fang Tian City as a guest, but ambushed me, the host, for no reason. Are all of you Yi clan members so domineering and rude? Just testing how much capability you have can't be considered domineering, he. That Yi clan woman laughed coldly in disdain. The gaze she looked at Su Fang with was like a cat playing with a mouse under its claws. Soon after, her tone became murderous. "Next, I'll let you know what true domineering is. I'll destroy your physical body, strip off your origin soul, and refine your soul forever. Remember, my name is Yi Fian, lest you still don't know who to hate when you're suffering the pain of your soul being refined." As soon as her voice faded, over a dozen thoughts were released, rapidly condensing into peach pits around Su Fang. Chi. 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 The outer shell of the peach pit burst, rapidly growing into a sapling, then growing into a peach tree in the time it took for a spark to fly off a flint. During the process of the peach pit's growth, it released an astonishing suction force. Su Fang felt the life energy in his body start to flow away frantically, being absorbed by the peach pit, becoming nutrients for the peach tree's growth. Even his origin soul was torn apart by that strange power, about to be torn into over a dozen pieces, and devoured by that peach tree. Worthy of being one of the 5 great divine clans of the central profound divine domain, the Yi clan, to possess such a powerful and exceptional divine ability, and even contain the will visualization technique. However, wanting to kill me, Su Fang, is laughable to the extreme. Su Fang let out a cold laugh in his heart, his eyes exuding traces of coldness. He was not an ordinary Dao Lord cultivator, but a person who crossed realms. The Dao Profound Realm cultivators who crossed realms to kill were not just 1 or 2. Blood Prison Soul Slashing Blade Break. Su Fang displayed the will visualization technique, and at the same time, also combined with the Blood Fiend Dharma body to display the Blood Prison Soul Slashing Blade. After more than 20,000 years of precipitation, the Blood Prison world that was created with the will visualization and the Tao of slaughter laws became even more real. One could see the sea of blood roaring, and countless corpses floating up and down. Those dozen or so peach trees were ceaselessly corroded and devoured within the sea of blood. A blood-red clothed Su Fong rose from the sea of blood, and with a slash of his blade, the blade light swept out, and the dozen or so peach trees were immediately chopped into pieces. The might of the blood-prisoned soul slashing blade did not decline, and the blade light swept towards Yi Fian. An intermediate Tao Lord cultivator is actually able to execute the will visualization technique, and it's even an evil technique that has been lost since a long time ago. Yi Feishuan's defeat at your hands is not unjust. Yi Fian praised loudly, but there was no fear on her face. A peach-red Xian Guang shot out from between her brows, and it swiftly transformed into a 1-meter-long gorgeous peach blossom. Its petals were as sharp as blades, and as it spun rapidly, it minced the blade light into pieces. Bang! The peach blossom instantly arrived in front of Su Fong, and it was about to mince Su Fong into pieces. Hiss! A dazzling blade light bloomed, and it carried an imposing aura that could annihilate everything as it slashed the peach blossom into pieces, and the blade light shattered along with it. You have quite a number of techniques. Interesting. Looks like I have to perk up my spirits to play with you. Yi Fian laughed coldly as she tossed out an embroidered handkerchief with a wave of her hand. The embroidered handkerchief swiftly appeared above Su Fong's head, and it transformed into a 30 long handkerchief that was embroidered with countless budding flowers. Swoosh! 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 All the flower buds suddenly bloomed, and the extremely gorgeous petals emanated a pink mist that swiftly swept out and enveloped Su Fong. The dense fragrance of the peach blossom seeped into Su Fong's Tao Palace and Tao Heart, and it made Su Fong feel warm. After that, an instinctive flame of desire swiftly blazed within Su Fong's body. Every single inch of his skin turned completely red, and he howled like a wild beast. Yi Fian flew over, and the gaze she shot at Su Fong was filled with complacency, ridicule, and boundless resentment. She stared at Su Fong and mocked, "You're one of the top 10 peerless geniuses in the Eastern Profound Divine region. Of course I won't really kill you, but I can still toy with you. Wait until I record your ugly appearance in a jade slip and sell it in the market. I'm sure you'll make a fortune, right?" "Is that so?" Su Fong suddenly laughed coldly. Immediately after, a supreme divine might that ruled over all life and death, the future and the past, surged out from Su Fong's body, instantly enveloping Yi Fian and the embroidered handkerchief Xian Bao. "My Lord's seal of 10 directions." Yi Fian's laughter came to an abrupt halt, and the divine light in her eyes changed. Su Fong's violet fate avatar charged out of his Tao Palace, releasing a purple mist that enveloped the embroidered handkerchief Xian Bao. Under the control of the violet fate avatar's divine might, the embroidered handkerchief began to tremble violently, resisting, and unable to release that strange power. At the same time, Su Fong used my Lord's seal of 10 directions, dominating Yi Fian and everything around her. Yi Fian was shocked to find that under Su Fong's divine might, everything about her was sealed, and she could only watch helplessly as she was shackled. Su Fong waved his hand and grabbed, pulling Yi Fian to his side. His eyes burned with desire as he stared at Yi Fian. "What did you just say?" Yi Fian panicked and said in a trembling voice, "I'm the eldest daughter of the Yi clan. If you dare touch a hair on my body, the Yi clan will pull out your tendons and skin you alive." Su Fong said, "The eldest daughter of the Yi clan? With such a status, I really can't do anything to you." Yi Fian immediately calmed down and said coldly, "Why aren't you letting me go? I won't touch a hair on your body, but you're so overbearing and arrogant. I have to teach you a lesson on behalf of your Yi clan elders." Su Fong's eyes flashed with evil, and his gaze fell on Yi Fian's perky butt. Yi Fian's heart trembled. "What are you doing?" "Don't worry, I won't touch a hair on your body. I just want to." Chapter 29:12. Slap. Su Fong's palm landed on Yi Fian's body. Her entire body trembled. Su Fang's heart also trembled. Of course, it wasn't that Su Fang's willpower wasn't enough. Yi Fian's brocade Xian Bao not only released the power to confuse one's Dao heart, but the aura it released could also evoke one's most instinctive desires. Although the brocade Xian Bao's power couldn't control Su Fang's Dao heart, it still succeeded in evoking Su Fang's instinctive desire. The moment his palm touched Yi Fian's body, that feeling made the flames in his body burn even more fiercely. Su Fang, how dare you humiliate me like this? You're courting death. Yi Fian was shocked and angry. She was the eldest daughter of the Yi clan and was usually high and mighty. She could call the wind and summon the rain within the Yi clan. Outside, she relied on her identity and appearance to be praised everywhere. When had she ever been humiliated like this? Hearing Yi Fian's threat, the flames of desire in Su Fang's eyes burned even more fiercely. Buzz, the seven-colored Dao heart, emitted a cool aura, which immediately diluted the burning desire in Su Fang's heart. I actually fell for it. That brocade Xian Bao is really powerful. Su Fang's heart skipped a beat, and he suddenly became completely clear-headed. Seeing that Su Fang had stopped moving, Yi Fian thought he was afraid, and immediately began to act coquettishly and arrogantly again. Su Fang, now you finally know what fear is, right? Obediently let me go, then kneel and kowtow. Maybe I'll be happy and spare your life. Slap. Su Fang waved his hand and slapped Yi Fian's face. The sound was incomparably loud and clear. He planned to completely destroy Yi Fian's arrogance and coquettishness. Otherwise, there would be endless trouble in the future. Of course, he couldn't hit her anymore. After all, she was a woman. He could kill her, but not humiliate her. If the Yi clan was forced into a corner, it would attract unnecessary trouble. Su Fang, I will kill you. I will definitely kill you. Yi Fian felt a burning pain on her face. Her eyes were filled with tears and her heart was filled with humiliation. In the reception hall of the city lord's mansion, Tua Qianji, Supreme Holiness Spring and Autumn, and a dignified elder from the Heaven Pavilion sat majestically in their seat. Qin Heng trembled as he waited at the side. These three people were all top experts, and their identities were also incomparably shocking. Moreover, Supreme Holiness Spring and Autumn was Qin Heng's former master. How could he not be scared? Yi Fian's sneak attack on Su Fang could not escape the senses of the three peerless powerhouses. Tua Qianji frowned and was about to stop him. The dignified elder said indifferently, Yi Fian is a prodigy of our clan. She has long heard of Su Fang's fame. This time, she came to the Eastern Xian Divine Domain to exchange pointers with Su Fang. Lord Tua Qianji, it's best that you don't interfere in the matters of the younger generation. Tua Qianji let out a cold snort and stopped Yi Fian. Tua Qianji was still very confident in Su Fang's strength. Little did he know Yi Fian was restrained by Su Fang and even slapped in the face by Su Fang. The dignified elder couldn't sit still anymore. Tua Qianji stroked his long white beard and chuckled. Elder Yi, us elders shouldn't interfere in the matters of the younger generation. Besides, Su Fang didn't really mean to hurt Yi Fian. He just wanted to play a joke on her. The dignified elder snorted heavily and his face turned ashen. Slap, 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 slap. Yi Fian's face was slapped by Su Fang more than 10 times. Although Su Fang didn't use his divine power, his physical strength was astonishing. Soon, Yi Fian's peerless face turned into a pig's head. At first, Yi Fian was shouting and cursing loudly. Then, she was in so much pain that tears flowed down her face. But in the end, her cries of pain turned into gasps. Her face was flushed red, and her graceful body couldn't stop twisting. This bitch, she actually likes to be abused. Su Fang was shocked and stunned. He immediately stopped. If you dare to be impudent in Fang Tian City again, don't blame Su Fang for being merciless. Next time, it won't be so simple. Su Fang forcefully suppressed the flames of desire in his heart. His cold gaze swept over Yi Fian's body. At this time, His purple fate avatar suppressed Yi Fian's brocade xian bao and sealed it in the space within his body. Su Fang withdrew his purple fate avatar and ignored Yi Fian. He flew towards the guest hall. Staring at Su Fang's back, Yi Fian gritted her teeth. Thinking about how she was humiliated by Su Fang, she felt humiliated and angry. She chased after Su Fang. Su Fang stepped into the hall. Just as he saw Tua Qianji, Supreme Holiness Spring and Autumn, and the dignified elder from the Yi clan, a powerful will suddenly descended and enveloped him. The power of that will was astonishing. Su Fang felt as if a mountain was crushing down on him. He was a small tree that would be crushed by the mountain in an instant. Su Fang didn't hesitate to use his will visualization technique. A blood-red figure slashed out with his saber. The saber light was like a river of blood that surged into the sky, crashing into the pressure of the will. Boom! The saber light shattered instantly. The will released by the Yi clan elder was also shaken. However, it didn't completely shatter. Most of the will still hit Su Fang's Dao heart. The 7 colors Vajra's Dao heart trembled, shattering the will. Su Fang staggered and almost fell to the ground. Eh! The elder of the Yi clan let out a cry of surprise. He saw Yi Fian being humiliated by Su Fang. He was prepared to show his strength to Su Fang. Although he didn't use his full strength, the will released by a peerless expert like him could shatter the will of a Dao Lord and make them kneel and beg for mercy even if their Dao heart wasn't shattered. Tua Qianji shouted coldly, "Elder Yi, don't forget that this is the Eastern Profound Divine Domain, not the Middle Profound Divine Domain. It's not your Yi clan." Elder Yi said coldly, "I'm just testing Su Fang." "Why are you so angry, Lord Tua Qianji?" Tua Qianji snorted and looked at Su Fang. "Su Fang, this is Elder Yi from the Middle Profound Divine Domain's Yi clan. He came to Square Sky City to investigate the cause of Yi Feibai's death. Don't hide it and don't be afraid. With me here, let's see who dares to touch you." "Thank you, Lord." Su Fang didn't expect Tua Qianji to be so protective of him. He was surprised. The Southern Profound Divine Domain's cultivators had suddenly joined the Jiuxuan Heavenly Selection, and Sima Xiaoxiao was about to take first place in the finals. If that was the case, the Eastern Profound Divine Domain would become a laughingstock in the Jiuxuan. In the future, their cultivators wouldn't be able to raise their heads when they saw other cultivators. Su Fang was the only one who could defeat Sima Xiaoxiao. Even if he couldn't, he wouldn't lose so badly. It wasn't strange for Tua Qianji to be so protective of Su Fang. Moreover, Tua Qianji was very clear that Su Fang had attracted the attention of Dongxian Daozu. If Su Fang was humiliated by the Yi clan cultivators and Daozu questioned him, Tua Qianji wouldn't be able to explain himself. How could he not do his best to protect Su Fang? Exalted Venerable Spring Autumn said, "Su Fang, I know that you have some misunderstanding with Yi Feibai. Yi Feibai is a direct descendant of the Yi clan. His death in the Blood Valley Elite competition was suspicious. It's reasonable for the Yi clan to send people to investigate. You must explain everything clearly." Exalted Martial Sage Spring Autumn fanned the flames, causing Su Fang to be enraged. "There are 10,000 participants in the Blood Valley Elite competition. Why doesn't this Lord of the Yi clan find all of them and question them one by one? The Yi clan suspects that I killed Yi Feibai. What evidence do they have?" Elder Yi said indifferently, "That's because you want to kill Yi Feibai and have the strength to do so. Moreover, the Yi clan doesn't need any evidence against a lowly race forsaken by the heavens like you. So what if they kill you directly?" Su Fang sneered. "So it's because of my lowly background that the Yi clan is so domineering in front of me." Elder Yi snorted. "Don't think that you can look down on everything just because you're in the limelight now. In front of the Supreme Yi clan, you're at most a slightly bigger ant. Genius? In the Jiuxuan Divine Realm, there are countless geniuses who died prematurely. The experts of the Eastern Xian divine realm can protect you for now, but can they protect you forever? If the Yi clan wants to kill someone, no one can stop them. Sir, from the Yi clan, you're right. My Su Fong is indeed from a lowly universe. My status is lowly, and I don't have any power to rely on. I have to fight for everything with my own hand. I was originally a mortal from a lowly universe. I've faced countless strong enemies and powers. However, my Su Fong has come from a lowly universe to where I am now. This is enough to prove that I can change my fate with my own effort. I can trample all difficulties under my feet. My Su Fong has come to where I am today by stepping on the bones of countless enemies and powers. That's right. Compared to the Yi clan, I'm indeed insignificant. I'm as lowly as an ant. However, Elder Yi, can you guarantee that there won't be a day when my Su Fong soars into the sky? Can you be sure that when the time comes, the Yi clan won't become a pile of bones like those powerful enemies that I've trampled under my feet? Su Fong stood majestically. Even the torrential storm couldn't shake him in the slightest. A sense of pride arose spontaneously. Arrogant. I'll suppress you now. Let's see how you'll soar into the sky and how you'll trample my supreme Yi clan under your feet. Elder Yi let out a thunderous roar. The seat beneath him suddenly turned to dust. A wave of wool rolled toward Su Fong with a crushing force. Rumble. Rumble after rumble of thunder came from the void. The terrifying will of the heavens formed a protective barrier around Su Fong, shattering Elder Ye's will attack into pieces. Jiuxuan's heavenly laws? Fear appeared in Elder Ye's eyes. He didn't dare to continue attacking Su Fong. He didn't really want to kill Su Fong just now. Otherwise, he would attract the punishment of the Jiuxuan's heavenly laws. The consequences would be unbearable for him. Tua Qianji's figure flashed and stood in front of Su Fong. He said coldly, Elder Yi, don't blame me for being impolite if you continue to act so recklessly. Chapter 29:13. Tua Qianji changed to a primordial spirit transmission. Elder Yi, I have no other choice. Let me give you a piece of advice. Don't treat Su Fong as a lowly ant without any background. Not only does Lord Daozu pay close attention to him, but there is also a peerless figure behind him that even the Yi clan cannot afford to offend. Don't bring trouble to the Yi clan. Elder Ye's heart shook. Offending Dongxian Daozu for a junior like Yi Feibai was obviously not a wise move for the Yi clan. Furthermore, from what Tua Qianji said, Su Fong had an extremely powerful figure behind him that even the Yi clan could not afford to offend. A powerful figure like Tua Qianji would not threaten the Yi clan with empty words. However, Elder Yi was not willing to give up just like that. Suddenly Yi Fian transmitted a primordial spirit transmission. Elder Yi was stunned at first. After thinking for a while, the anger on his face quickly disappeared and turned into a smile. Then, he said to Su Fong, I will not pursue Yi Feibai's matter anymore. However, you have to agree to one condition. Elder Yi was like a completely different person. Not only Su Fong, but Tua Qianji and exalted martial artists Spring and Autumn were also stunned and confused. However, the smile on Elder Ye's face made Su Fong feel like a ferocious beast that suddenly revealed its ferocious fangs. Calm down. Su Fong replied calmly, Yi Feibai's death has nothing to do with me. If the Yi clan really believes that Yi Feibai was killed by me, I have nothing to say. I, Su Fong, will take all revenge. As for Elder Ye's condition, forgive me for not agreeing to it. It's fine if Elder Yi doesn't say it. Elder Yi said coldly, Su Fong, don't be ungrateful. This is a good thing for both you and the Yi clan. It won't be too late for you to reply after hearing my condition. Exalted martial artists Spring and Autumn said imposingly, Su Fong, since Elder Yi said so, it must be a good thing. Don't push your luck. Tua Qianji also did not want Su Fong and the Yi clan to fall out. It would be best if they could resolve the grudges. So he advised, Su Fong, listen to what Elder Yi has to say. Su Fang nodded and looked at Elder Yi. I wonder what is the best of both worlds. Elder Yi, please tell us. Of the Yi clan. Of the clan of the Yi clan's death. And reputation of the Yi clan also's death is a great loss. Of the clan's loss. Of the clan of the clan of the clan of the clan. Su Fang, your talent is extraordinary. If I were to kill you, it would also be a loss to the human race. Thus, I thought of a way to satisfy both sides. Su Fang sneered inwardly but did not refute. He continued to listen. Elder Yi continued, Su Fang, if you can join the Yi clan directly, I will arrange for a lady of the Yi clan to be your Dao companion. You will be considered to have married into the Yi clan and become a member of the Yi clan from then on. All the grudges will be written off. Join the Yi clan? And marry into the Yi clan? Su Fang was shocked and bewildered. He would never have thought that the elder of the Yi clan would come up with such a devious idea. Tua Qianji was shocked as well. He then said decisively, Elder Yi, Su Fang is Dongxuan's top genius. How can he marry into the Yi clan? Su Fang cannot agree to this condition. Elder Yi stroked his beard and said with a smile, Lord Tua Qianji, Su Fang is not a disciple of Heaven Pavilion, nor does he belong to any other forces in the Eastern Xian divine domain. Why can't he join the Yi clan? This concerns Su Fang's future. It should be decided by Su Fang himself. It is inappropriate for Lord Tua Qianji to overstep your authority. Tua Qianji let out an inexplicable chuckle. He had no words to refute Elder Ye's words. Su Fang said decisively, I'm sorry. I've already become a disciple of a peerless master. I can't join any other forces. Please forgive me, Elder Yi. I will never agree to such a condition. Elder Yi was not angry. He looked at Su Fang and said, No matter who you become a disciple of, there is no conflict between you marrying into the Yi clan. Besides, I can guarantee that as long as you join the Yi clan, you will receive the status and treatment of a core member. That is a good thing that countless cultivators will scramble for. Besides, the Yi clan's genius that I have appointed for you is none other than Yi Fian, who you had a misunderstanding with earlier. Are you not tempted by such a peerless woman? Yi Fian? Su Fang was dumbfounded. Exalted Elder Spring Autumn said, Yi Fian is the eldest daughter of the Yi clan. She is deeply doted on by the Yi clan's ancestor. Su Fang, if you can marry into the Yi clan and become Dao companions with her, it will be a wonderful thing. You are destined to soar in the future. Tua Qianji snorted coldly, Spring Autumn, you talk too much today. Exalted Elder Spring Autumn smiled embarrassedly, Please don't take offense, Lord. I'm just thinking for Su Fang's future. At the same time, I want to resolve the grudge between the Yi clan and the Eastern Profound Divine Region. That's why I'm a little impatient. Su Fang said firmly, Elder Yi, I'm really sorry. I have no intention of joining the Yi clan, and I have no interest in Yi Fian. I can't agree to this. Elder Yi snorted and said, Su Fang, you have to think carefully. You don't know how many peerless geniuses want to join our Yi clan. You don't even know how many elites from powerful forces admire and pursue Yi Fian. A bright future and beautiful women are at your fingertips. As long as you agree to it, you'll have to struggle less for many years and overcome fewer obstacles in your life. Su Fang spoke in a firm voice, Of course, I, Su Fang, am aware of these benefits. However, I would rather struggle for countless more epochs and face more difficulties and dangers than accept the rewards bestowed upon me by others or the so-called benefits imposed upon me. I would also not exchange my own fate and freedom for any benefit. Tua Qianji's gaze towards Su Fang was full of praise. He laughed heartily and said, Good, good. You're indeed a man of Dongxian. You have backbone and courage. Elder Ye's face darkened at once. Su Fang, it looks like you're really going against my clan. Su Fang spoke faintly, not agreeing to the Yi clan's conditions is going against the Yi clan. Elder Ye's logic is truly overbearing. Tua Qianji smiled and said, Elder Yi, I've seen women being forced into marriage, but this is my first time seeing men being forced into marriage. Elder Yi has broadened my horizons today. Ha ha ha. Good, Su Fang, you're very good. Elder Yi stared at Su Fang. The murderous intent in his eyes was undisguised. Tua Qianji said in a low voice, Elder Yi, I'll say it again. Don't bring trouble to the Yi clan. Don't worry, the Yi clan won't use its power to crush a lowly ant. Su Fang, when you come to Central Mystic Divine Region to participate in the Jiuxuan Heavens Chosen Finals, my clan's genius disciples will treat you well. I'll take my leave now. Elder Yi said in a low voice and was about to walk out of the hall. Suddenly Yi Fian rushed into the hall. Tua Qianji, an exalted martial artist Spring and Autumn, looked at Yi Fian, then looked at Su Fang. Their eyes became strange. Yi Fian yelled at Su Fang, Su Fang, you bastard! My identity, my appearance, my power, which part of me doesn't deserve you, a lowly being from the heaven-forsaken slave clan? Su Fang had just beaten up this eldest Miss Yi and made her suffer. Shouldn't she hate Su Fang to the core? Su Fang touched the tip of his nose and smiled bitterly. Yi Fian stared at Su Fang fiercely and said with gritted teeth, Su Fang, you took advantage of this great ant. Don't think you can deny it. This great ant wants you. Just you wait, this great ant will get you sooner or later. Let's see how you can escape from this great ant's palm. Tua Qianji laughed involuntarily. Su Fang felt his head swell up. Why did he touch that eldest young lady Yi for no reason? Now there's trouble, big trouble. Shut up. Elder Yi was so angry that his whole body trembled. Embarrassing. This time, the Yi clan had lost a lot of face. It was Yi Fian's idea to let Su Fang marry into the Yi clan. Elder Yi thought that it was a good idea, so he accepted it without hesitation. Little did he know that Su Fang was not moved at all. If this matter was spread out, wouldn't the Yi clan become the laughingstock of the Eastern Xian Divine Region? Now that Yi Fian wanted to stick to Su Fang and not let go, how could Elder Yi not be angry? Immediately, Elder Yi rolled out a divine aura and enveloped Yi Fian. In a flash, he disappeared into the void. Tua Qianji stroked his beard and looked at Su Fang. He said with a smile, Su Fang, although this great one is against you marrying into the Yi clan, if you can take that eldest young lady Yi as your Dao companion, it might not be a bad thing. You should think about it carefully. Su Fang smiled bitterly and said, My lord, I, Su Fang, have always been clean and honest. Moreover, I already have a Dao companion. Tua Qianji waved his hand and interrupted Su Fang. He snorted and said, Clean and honest? How did you provoke Sima Xiaoxiao in Su Ruo Valley? I saw the scene of you taking advantage of her very clearly. When you took advantage of Yi Fian just now, this great one also saw it clearly. The Supreme Elder of Spring and Autumn also looked at Su Fang with disdain. Su Fang hurriedly explained, My lord, please listen to my explanation. When this great one was as young as you, cough cough cough, I focused on preparing for the upcoming top 10 ranking battle. As for the Yi clan, the Middle Xian Yi clan, Heaven Pavilion will make the decision for you. However, how to deal with that eldest young lady Yi is up to you. Whether you want to take her as your Dao companion or as your concubine, or abandon her, that is your business. This great one has no control over it. If you have the ability, you can also take Sima Xiaoxiao as your Dao companion. Ha ha! Tua Qianji laughed and walked out of the guest hall. The Supreme Elder of Spring and Autumn also left. Su Fang was speechless and smiled bitterly. It seemed like the enmity between him and the Yi clan would be endless. Qin Heng suddenly said, Master, Lord Tua Qianji's words might be reasonable. Why don't you consider it? Su Fang said. Qin Heng, this lord just came out of seclusion. I need to find someone to practice with. You can practice with this lord for a while. Chapter 29:14. Time flew by. The battle for the top 10 in the Jiuxuan Blood Valley was approaching. Before the ranking battle, the treasure refiners of the Divine Cauldron Palace had finally refined the pair of bee wings that Su Fang had obtained in the 5th stage into a peak supreme grade Xian Bao. An elder of the Divine Cauldron Palace had personally delivered it. 10 years before the xenophobic battle, Su Fang left Square Sky City and prepared to head to Daoless City. Farewell, Master. Countless cultivators of Square Sky City knelt down when they saw Su Fang's figure. In a training hall in Square Sky City, a boy and a girl respectfully knelt on the ground and kowtowed. These 2 youths were the Gao tribespeople that Su Fang had helped in the vast plains, Gao Chuan and Gao Li. At this time, the Gao tribe had become the largest tribe in the vast plains. The brother and sister had long left the Gao tribe and come to Square Sky City. Because of Su Fang and Gao Tianlei, the 2 of them were now special disciples in Square Sky City's training hall. Their status was unparalleled. If it weren't for Su Fang, the 2 of them would have exhausted their lifespans and turned into a pile of dust. How could they have their current glory? The 2 of them were naturally grateful to Su Fang. Gao Chuan even regarded Su Fang as a role model. In Square Sky City, there were many descendants of the mortals that Su Fang had saved. When they saw Su Fang's figure, they all knelt on the ground and kowtowed sincerely. I wish young Master Su Fang a victory and first place in the Heavens selection. Young Master Su Fang is invincible. Young Master Su Fang will definitely win supreme glory for our Eastern Xian Divine Realm in this trip to the Blood Valley. Many cultivators and experts of various forces who had come to Square Sky City to visit Su Fang had never been able to see Su Fang. When they saw Su Fang now, they all cupped their fists and bowed to Su Fang. Su Fang cupped his fists to the foreign cultivators. Just as he was about to use his movement technique to leave, he suddenly caught a glimpse of 2 cultivators in the crowd. Su Fang immediately stopped. Lord Feng Han, I trust you have been well since we last met. Feng Han. It turned out that Feng Han and Feng Zhenhua from the Feng clan were also among the foreign cultivators. A big shot of the Feng clan brought Feng Han and Feng Zhenhua and flew towards Su Fang. The Feng clan magnate cupped his fists and bowed to Su Fang. In the past, Feng Han and Feng Zhen were rude and offended young Master Su Fang. This one specially brought the 2 of them to the Square Heaven City to apologize to young Master Su Fang. Young Master Su Fang, please forgive us. Feng Han and Feng Zhenhua lowered their heads and bent their waists, looking both respectful and fearful. In reality, the 2 of them had mixed feelings in their hearts. They were conflicted, angry, humiliated, and all sorts of emotions. Su Fang's cold eyes swept across Feng Han and Feng Zhenhua. She said indifferently, You have offended me. Su Fang can let bygones be bygones. However, you have treated Holy Lady as a commodity and made a deal with Dongxianjing. You have to give Holy Lady an explanation. When Holy Lady wakes up, you can go and apologize to her yourselves. After she finished speaking, Su Fang's figure flashed and turned into a burning flame. She quickly disappeared from the sight of the 3 Feng clan members. Looking in the direction where Su Fang disappeared, Feng Han's eyes were lifeless and he looked absent-minded. The scene in the Pan Song universe that year was still vivid in his mind. He could never have imagined that the lowly ant back then had now become an existence that made the entire Feng clan tremble. Daoless City. The top 10 ranking battle had yet to begin, but the atmosphere was extremely solemn. The original intention of this Jiuquan Heavens selection was to select the true peerless geniuses from the Jiuquan Divine Domain. However, with the participation of the cultivators from the Southern Profound Divine Domain and other divine domains, as well as the Big Goblin, things had changed. The top 10 ranking battle this time had evolved into a battle for the reputation of the Eastern Profound Divine Domain. If the first place of the Eastern Profound Divine Domain was taken away by an outsider, it would be a great blow to the Eastern Profound Divine Domain's reputation. The cultivators of the Eastern Profound Divine Domain would have to lower their heads when they met cultivators from other divine domains in the future. Once their reputation fell, it would bring about a loss of benefits, especially at the critical moment when the other races were about to invade the human world. It was because of the importance of the top 10 ranking battle that many Dongxian cultivators were so nervous. The hope of the Eastern Profound Divine Domains cultivators winning the first place was slim. All the Dongxian cultivators in Daolis City, including Dongshuan's powerhouses, were extremely depressed and heavy. To avoid being disturbed, Su Fang made his way to Daolis City unhurriedly. He only entered the city on the day the top 10 ranking battle began. Looking up at the Heaven's Chosen God list in the sky above Daolis City, Su Fang's eyes shone brightly. This time, I want to rank first on the Heaven's Chosen God list with my own strength. My name will shake the Jiuxuan and achieve the glory that belongs to Su Fang. Suddenly Tua Qianji's voice echoed in the sky above Daolis City. The top 10 ranking battle of Jiuxuan's Heaven's Chosen Blood Valley will begin in 6 hours. Top 10 geniuses, prepare yourselves. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Silhouettes leaped into the air from various parts of the city. That's Dongshuan's glory. I heard that Dongshuan's glory has lasted for 1,000 years. With Daozu's personal guidance, they might have a chance to defeat Sima Xiaoxiao and win Dongshuan's first place. Gu Tianqi Shu Chongxiao. Sima Xiaoxiao, that girl in black is Sima Xiaoxiao. With a sway, Su Fang arrived in the air and stood with his hands clasped behind his back. Su Fang. Su Fang's appearance caused a huge commotion in Daolis City. It far surpassed Dongshuan's glory and Sima Xiaoxiao's. It was not only Su Fang's dazzling performance in the Jiuxuan's Heaven's Chosen God list. It was also because Su Fang was like most of the cultivators in the Heaven's Forsaken Wasteland, a tribe forsaken by the Heavens from a low-level universe. Su Fang's various performances in the Blood Valley had shocked and impressed countless cultivators. The Rock Prince snorted and shook his head. When this king's son sweeps Dongshuan's geniuses and tramples Su Fang under his feet, we'll see how these humans cry. The demon youth sneered. Are you going to wipe out me and Miss Sima as well? The Rock Prince retorted. Of course, I won't be soft-hearted to crush a little loach like you, but for Miss Sima, I'll only conquer her in bed, not on stage. The Yao race was like this. They said whatever they wanted and did whatever they wanted. They were domineering and unreasonable, cruel and violent. The Rock Prince's words immediately attracted the murderous gazes of South Mystic cultivators and Sima Xiaoxiao's icy glare. The Rock Prince snickered. He looked at Su Fang and the other Dongxian geniuses and said, Don't worry, you useless Dongxian trash. This king's son will represent East Mystic Divine Region and participate in the finals of Zhongxian. I guarantee that he'll be in the top 3 of the Jiuxuan. The ranking will be under Dongshuan's name then, so you don't have to worry about anything. The South Mystic cultivator, Fu Xinai, snorted. The one who will represent Dongxian in the finals is our South Mystic genius. What does it have to do with a shameless big goblin like you? The big goblin, a genius from South Mystic Divine Region, dared to look down on the East Mystic Divine Region's geniuses. Dongxian Hui Huang, Gu Tianqi, and Shu Chongxiao gritted their teeth in anger. Daolis City was in an uproar, followed by angry curses. Dongshuan's geniuses are worried about the top 10 ranking match this time. If any one of Dongxian Lai, Dongxian Qianyang, or Dongxian Qinyue had stayed in the Blood Valley to participate, this wouldn't have happened. We can only let the South Mystic geniuses and Big Goblin be arrogant for a while. When the finals begin, Dongxian Lai and the other Dongxian geniuses will definitely teach them a lesson. The powerhouses of East Mystic Divine Region could no longer sit still in Daolis City's mayor's residence. Divine light flashed from the main seat in the center. Tua Qianji's figure appeared on the throne. Have faith in Dongshuan's geniuses. Su Fang and Dongxian Hui Huang might have a chance to compete with Sima Xiaoxiao for first place. Dongshuan's strength has improved tremendously in the past 1,000 years under Daozu's personal guidance. They might have a chance to defeat Sima Xiaoxiao. Then Su Fang, it'll be difficult for him to compete with Sima Xiao Xiao. Su Fang once injured Sima Xiao Xiao in Shirua Valley. If they meet in the top 10 ranking match, the scene in Shirua Valley might not be impossible to repeat. In Shirua Valley, Su Fang was only able to injure Sima Xiao Xiao because he had obtained extraordinary fortune and his cultivation base was restricted. There won't be any restrictions in the top 10 ranking match. It'll be difficult to defeat Sima Xiao Xiao again. The powerhouses discussed animatedly, feeling a little dejected. In the sky above Daolis City, 10 geniuses stood in the air, waiting quietly for the moment to enter the Blood Valley. Whoosh! A silhouette soared into the air, heading straight for Su Fang. It was a woman dressed in white. She was an outstanding beauty and her cultivation base was extraordinary as well, reaching the height of Lower Daolis realm. The people in Daolis City did not understand what the woman wanted to do. Everyone's gaze was focused on her. At this moment, the woman had replaced the top 10 geniuses and become the center of attention. The woman seemed to be extremely shy, timid, and trembling under the gazes of everyone. She looked at Su Fang and said, "Young Master Su Fang, my name is Du Zhixiang, and I'm the Holy Maiden of the enigmatic Maiden Palace." What's the matter? Su Fang couldn't help but be stunned. He didn't know this woman, nor had he heard of the enigmatic Maiden Palace. Du Zhixiang's face flushed red, and she seemed to be unable to speak. Su Fang said in surprise, "If you have something to say, just say it." Du Zhixiang mustered up her courage and said loudly, "I wish young Master Su Fang the best in the ranking match. If young Master Su Fang is able to seize the crown, then I'm willing to devote myself to you." Su Fang was both shocked and astounded. He hurriedly said, "I'll definitely do my best in the ranking match. But I already have 2 Dao companions. Young Miss Du, please retract your words of devotion." Du Zhixiang said with a red face, "Young Master Su Fang likes beautiful women. Who in the Eastern Xian Divine region doesn't know that? I'm not as strong as Sima Xiao Xiao, and my status is not as good as the young miss of the Yi clan. However, I'm confident that my appearance will not lose to theirs. Even if I'm not qualified to be young Master's Dao companion, I'll be satisfied to be young Master Su Fang's concubine." After saying that, Du Zhixiang covered her face and flew into the city. Su Fang was dumbfounded. Daolis City was silent for a moment, and then burst into laughter. Gu Tianqi wanted to see the world in chaos. He smiled and said, "Congratulations, Brother Su. The ranking match hasn't even started, and you already have a beautiful woman dedicating herself to you. I'm impressed, and at the same time, I'm extremely envious." Su Fang smiled bitterly and helplessly. "Misunderstanding, it's purely a misunderstanding. When did I, Su Fang, like beautiful women?" Shu Chongxiao snorted and looked at Su Fang with disdain. "You took advantage of Sima Xiao Xiao in Su Ruo Valley. This is obvious to all. Not long ago, you abandoned the young miss of the Yi clan and completely angered the Yi clan. This matter has already spread throughout the Eastern Xian Divine region. Who would believe that you don't like beautiful women?" Chapter 29:15. Shu Chongxiao and Gu Tianqi's words struck Su Fang like lightning. He staggered and almost fell from the sky. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. More than a dozen ladies flew over from Daolis City. "Su Fang, if you can get first place, I'll let you have whatever you want. I'll never rely on you in the future." "Su Fang, that Sima Xiao Xiao has no breasts and no buttocks. How can you be attracted to such a woman? If you can get first place, I'll let you know what a real woman is. Su Fang, kill Sima Xiao Xiao and you'll be Dongshuan's #1. To motivate Su Fang, the ladies went all out. They were either reserved, bashful, or straightforward as they made their promises to Su Fang. Gu Tianqi and Shu Chongxiao guffawed. Even Gung Ming and the geniuses from the other god domains were guffawing. Dongshuan's glorious emperor snorted coldly, playing to the gallery, clowns. Dongshuan's cultivators are all disgraced. Su Fong closed his eyes helplessly and sealed all his senses. Guffaws came from Dallas City. The tense and solemn atmosphere before the top 10 ranking match was gone. Sima Xiaoxiao could no longer keep her cool after being mocked by the Dongxian ladies. Her chilling voice echoed throughout Dallas City. Su Fong, if you can defeat me in the ranking match, I'm willing to be your slave. If you fail, I, Sima Xiaoxiao, will take your head. Dallas City fell into a deathly silence in an instant. Su Fong opened his eyes and swept Sima Xiaoxiao with a divine light. With a smile on his lips, he spoke in a domineering tone, I, Su Fong, am very happy to have such a slave. A commotion broke out in Dallas City. Swoosh! A crimson light gushed out from the void and enveloped the 10 geniuses. The blood-red space quickly extended into the surroundings before finally stabilizing and transforming into a space with an area of 500 kilometers. Within the space, a mountain peak that looked like it was made of blood stood tall. It was the Blood Valley's Slaughter Mountain. The 10 geniuses were swept to the square at the peak of Slaughter Mountain by a divine aura. 1,000 feet wide crimson substance floated above the square. There was a world above the substance, used as the space for the top 10 ranking match. This time, Dongxuan's battle of the top 10 finalists was being held in public, unlike the past where the outsiders could only watch through the gods' chosen list. Swoosh! 3 silhouettes appeared above the crimson substance on Slaughter Mountain. Other than the Jiuxuan experts from other god domains, there were 2 other Jiuxuan powerhouses from other god domain. Their auras were powerful auras. They were at the same height as the Jiuxuan powerhouses from before. Jiuxuan. The final battle of the 9 profound heaven selection Blood Valley will now begin. The rules. The majestic voice of the 9 Xian elite passed through the space of the Blood Valley and transmitted to Dallas City. And the divine was the worth of the peoples. Were separated from the heaven-forsaken barren region, there was a mystical world called the Divine Medicine World. The entire profound world was an endless mountain range with countless towering peaks. It was said that the Divine Medicine World was a natural substance born in the chaos. It was discovered by a powerhouse from the divine realm and moved to Dongxian with his supreme power. Countless rare herbs grew in the mountains, attracting countless alchemists to stay in the mystical world. Gradually, a powerful force was formed. This was the top alchemy force in the divine realm, the Divine Medicine Tao. Due to the ability of an alchemist, they were indispensable to any cultivator. Therefore, alchemists had a high status and were very rich. Not only were they rich, but their connections were also very deep. No cultivator or force would offend an alchemist unless they had no other choice. The medicine god Tao was the top alchemy sect in the Eastern Xian divine domain, gathering the best alchemists in the entire Dongxian. Therefore, their influence in the Eastern Xian divine domain was extraordinary. Even top forces like the 3 supreme mysterious sects and the Luo Shao sword sect would not easily offend the medicine god Tao. However, this was all in the past. In the past, there was an endless stream of cultivators who came to the Divine Medicine Tao to ask for pills. They almost broke through the gates of the Divine Medicine Tao. However, at this moment, the mountain gate of the Medicine Divine Path was deserted. It could be described as completely deserted. The reason could not be more simple. An alchemist from the Divine Medicine Tao had refined a pill that killed someone and offended a force that even the Divine Medicine Tao could not afford to offend. Seeing that the Divine Medicine Tao was about to fall into someone else's control, no one dared to come. The force that the Divine Medicine Tao had offended was called the Baoqing Chamber of Commerce. Its business covered the entire divine realm. Logically speaking, no matter how rich the Chamber of Commerce was, it would be difficult to shake a powerful force, let alone an alchemy sect like the Divine Medicine Tao. However, the backing of the Baoqing Chamber of Commerce was shocking. They were the direct descendants of Dongxian Daozu. In the divine realm of Dongxian, Dongxian Daozu was supreme, Dongshuan's sky. No matter how powerful the divine medicine Tao was, how could it defy the heavens? Although Dongxian Daozu had strictly ordered his descendants not to interfere in the affairs of the major forces, who would take these words seriously? Besides, there were too many descendants of Dongxian Daozu. They formed a huge clan in the divine realm of Dongxian. He could not control all of them at all times. Even if there were people who committed crimes in the name of Dongxian Daozu, no one reported to Dongxian Daozu. Over time, some ambitious people among the descendants, driven by profit, had long forgotten about Dongxian Daozu's ban. Moreover, the divine medicine Tao was in the wrong this time. The Baoqing Chamber of Commerce took the opportunity to swallow the divine medicine Tao. Although it was domineering, no one dared to stand up for the divine medicine Tao. Besides, who could guarantee that the Baoqing Chamber of Commerce's annexation of the divine medicine Tao was not ordered by Daozu himself? Just as the battle for the top 10 of the Jiuquan heavenly selection was about to begin, the Baoqing Chamber of Commerce's treasured ships made a grand dash for the divine medicine Tao. The ship at the front was covered in vast formations and decorated with countless treasures. It exuded a boundless aura of treasures. Just this treasure ship alone was comparable to the entire wealth of a medium-sized power. It could be seen how noble and wealthy the owner of the treasure ship was. A yellow-robed youth stood majestically at the bow of the ship. His black hair was as smooth as water, and he had a slender and handsome face. He exuded a transcendent air of nobility. The divine medicine Tao was in sight. A purple-faced, middle-aged man next to him spoke. 17th Highness has annexed the divine medicine Tao in one fell swoop and made a great contribution to the clan. The position of successor of the Dongxian heavenly clan will surely belong to 17th Highness. Only the Dongxian Daozu dared to call himself the sky in the divine realm of Dongxian. The so-called Dongxian heavenly clan was the unique title of the Daozu clan. And this yellow-robed youth's identity was even more remarkable. Not only was he a direct descendant of the Dongxian heavenly clan, but he was also a candidate for the future successor. This was why he was honored as a highness. The eyes under the yellow-robed youth's sword-like eyebrows flashed with a domineering luster. He smiled lightly and said, "The divine medicine Tao overestimated themselves. I had already asked them to join the Baoqing Chamber of Commerce, but they were incomparably arrogant and turned a deaf ear to my words." The purple-faced, middle-aged man said respectfully, 17th Highness, didn't the divine medicine Tao fall into your hands with a little trick? The yellow-robed youth's sword-like eyebrows furrowed. The table manners this time are a little too ugly. It will certainly cause a great disturbance. If the great ancestor finds out, the purple-faced, middle-aged man smiled. 17th Highness, you worry too much. With the great ancestor's supreme strength, what happens in the divine realm of Dongxian can escape his eyes. If he wanted to stop it, he would have spoken long ago. Why wait until now? The yellow-robed youth was shocked. Then why didn't the great ancestor stop it? The purple-faced, middle-aged man said with a smile, "That's because the entire divine realm of Dongxian belongs to the great ancestor. Of course, that includes the divine medicine Tao. Now, no matter who the divine medicine Tao falls into, isn't it the same thing to Lord Daozu? Why would an old man like him care about such a trivial matter?" That's right. That's exactly the case. After taking over the divine medicine Tao, this highness is destined to be the successor of the clan. The yellow-robed youth no longer had any worries and looked high-spirited. The treasured ship appeared outside the divine medicine Tao's boundary. The leader of the divine medicine Tao led many higher-ups and respectfully welcomed the yellow-robed youth and the hundreds of experts under his command into the conference hall of the divine medicine Tao. They sat on the throne. The yellow-robed youth went straight to the point. The divine medicine Tao has been given such a long time. I'm sure they have thought it through by today. This highness has come this time to get a result. The leader of the divine medicine Tao was a middle-aged man. His skin was rosy and incomparably soft, like the skin of a baby. Not only was his cultivation unfathomable, but he was also a top-notch alchemist. The leader of the divine medicine Tao slowly said, "The divine medicine Tao is willing to compensate the loss of the treasure formation chamber of commerce 100 times over and hand over the alchemist for your highness to deal with. We hope that the treasure formation chamber of commerce will be magnanimous this time." The yellow-robed youth smiled indifferently and said domineeringly, "The alchemist of the divine medicine Tao poisoned my clan's genius to death with the poisonous pills refined by him. Is the life of Daozu's descendants so worthless? The divine medicine Tao has no other choice but to become a branch of the treasure formation chamber of commerce. The treasure formation chamber of commerce has gone too far." All the higher-ups of the divine medicine Tao were furious, but there was nothing they could do. The leader of the divine medicine Tao remained silent for a moment and looked at one of the higher-up. "Master Apothecary Chu, go and invite Elder Su over." The yellow-robed youth sneered. "Elder Su?" The purple-faced middle-aged man sneered in disdain. "Even if we invite all the great elders of the three supreme profound sects and the Luo Shao sword sect, we still won't be able to save the medicine god Tao this time." The other higher-ups of the medicine divine path looked at each other. Clearly, they did not know that Elder Su had appeared in the medicine divine path. Besides, even if Elder Su had a great background, what could he do to resolve the current crisis of the medicine god Tao sect? Half an hour later, Master Apothecary Chu walked into the hall with a black-robed youth. Seeing this black-robed young man, the higher-ups of the medicine god Tao sect, who still had a glimmer of hope, immediately let out helpless sighs. The purple-masked, middle-aged man's divine light swept over the black-robed youth. He noticed that she was merely an intermediate Tao Lord, and he really could be considered to be a formidable genius since he was able to possess such a cultivation at such an age. However, it was truly laughable for this mere youth to want to save the medicine god Tao from the hands of the Tian clan. The yellow-robed young man didn't even look at Su Fang. He said to the leader of the medicine divine way indifferently, "I will give the medicine divine way one more incense stick of time. If you don't make a decision, don't blame the treasure formation chamber of commerce for being ruthless." Chapter 29:16. The elder of the medicine god Tao is a lunatic? The purple-faced middle-aged man was surprised at first before he sneered disdainfully. He then shouted at a Baocha chamber of commerce expert, "Destroy this lunatic's palace and throw him out of the medicine god Tao realm." Suddenly, an expert from the Baocha chamber of commerce exclaimed, "Hey! He is Su Fang." Swoosh. The black-robed youth became the focus of everyone's attention in the hall. This black-robed youth was Su Fang's Heaven's Path avatar. Hundreds of years ago, Su Fang had come to the medicine god Tao realm with Master Apothecary Chu and became a guest elder of the sect. However, other than the leader of the medicine god Tao realm and Master Apothecary Chu, no one in the sect knew of Su Fang's identity. The handsome young man in the yellow robe snorted disdainfully. "Su Fang? Who is he? What's there to be surprised about?" The purple-faced middle-aged man's gaze shifted as he quickly sent a message to the yellow-robed youth. "17th Highness, be careful with your words." Su Fang stared at the yellow-robed youth and said coldly, "I, Su Fang, am not what you are talking about. I am Dongshuan's savior, who once stopped the foreign tribes from invading the human world in the heaven-forsaken barren region." After a pause, Su Fang spoke again. "At this moment, my true self is participating in the Jiushuan Heavens, chosen Dongshuan's top 10 ranking battle in the Blood Valley. I am fighting against the geniuses of the southern mystic divine region and the experts of the Yao race to defend Dongshuan's reputation." "It's you?" The smile on the yellow-robed youth's face froze. If he still did not know who Su Fang was, he would have lived in vain. He quickly stood up and cupped his fists at Su Fang. I am a disciple of the Dongxian celestial clan, a descendant of the Daozu. I am ranked 17th among the celestial clan's younger generation. Young Master Su Fang can call me Zhao Shiqi. Su Fang said coldly, I don't want to know who you are, and I don't want to know your identity. Quickly leave the medicine god way, and I will pretend that nothing happened. The yellow-robed young man didn't expect that with his status, Su Fang would actually give him the cold shoulder. He immediately became furious. Su Fang, this highness respects you as a peerless genius. That's why I called you young Master Su Fang. However, you overestimate yourself and think that you're some kind of character. So what if you're a genius? How dare you meddle in the affairs of my Supreme Heavens clan for no reason? Where did you get the courage to stand up for the Medicine Divine Tao? I am an elder of the Medicine Divine Path. Why can't I stand up for the Medicine Divine Path? Su Fang stared at the yellow-robed youth and sneered coldly. Then, Su Fang said in a lofty voice, Lord Daozu has strictly ordered the clansmen not to interfere in the affairs of other forces. Even Heaven Pavilion is not allowed to participate in the conflicts of interests between the major forces. As for you, you're just a small disciple of the Heaven Clan. How dare you try to take over the #1 alchemy sect of the Eastern Profound Divine Domain, the Medicine Divine Path? Who gave you the courage? The yellow-robed youth's domineering aura was immediately suppressed. He was speechless for a moment. Su Fang aggressively said, Get out of the Medicine Divine Path immediately. Otherwise, after the top 10 ranking battle, this highness will report to Daozu in person. At that time, your head will fall to the ground. The yellow-robed youth's face turned as pale as a sheet of paper. Others revered the Heaven Clan, but this yellow-robed youth knew very well that they, the descendants of the Daozu, were just using the name of Daozu to show off their prowess. Dongxian Daozu didn't want to care. He couldn't be bothered to care. If Su Fang told Dongxian Daozu in person not to mention this youth called Zhao Shiqi, even the entire Heaven Clan would suffer great misfortune. Dongxian Daozu had lived for countless years, and his descendants had passed down countless generations. He had long lost any kinship. At most, he had a little bit of affection. The actions of the Treasure Formation Chamber of Commerce had clearly violated Daozu's ban. If they really angered Daozu, he would definitely kill them without a frown. Only then did the yellow-robed youth realize that although Su Fang had no power and seemed to have the reputation of being a peerless genius, he was actually a peerless figure who had the opportunity to talk directly to Dongxian Daozu. How could he, a descendant of many generations, be compared to him? The yellow-robed youth was completely flustered. He looked at the purple-faced middle-aged man. The latter pondered for a moment and said, Since young Master Su Fang is an elder of the Medicine Divine Path, then the Treasure Formation Chamber of Commerce will not pursue the matter. However, the alchemist of the Medicine Divine Path must be handed over to the Treasure Formation Chamber of Commerce. Also, the compensation for poisoning the disciples of the Heaven Clan must not be less. The yellow-robed youth gritted his teeth and said, Let's do as he says. The leader of the Medicine Divine Path was surprised and overjoyed. Thank you, 17th Prince. He immediately arranged for someone to bring the alchemist who had made a big mistake and at the same time, prepare the compensation from the Treasure Formation Chamber of Commerce. Many alchemists of the Medicine Divine Path looked at Su Fang in a completely different way. They were full of gratitude, awe, and endless shock. They were usually arrogant and looked down on everything. This time, the Medicine Divine Path was almost annexed by the Treasure Formation Chamber of Commerce. Only then did they realize that the identity of an alchemist was useless in front of a powerful force. They didn't expect that a mere young man could resolve the crisis of the Medicine Divine Path with just a few words. How could these alchemists not be grateful and impressed? Seeing that the Treasure Formation Chamber of Commerce had backed down, Su Fang didn't say anything more and fell into deep thought. I wonder when I can find Grandpa's reincarnation? It turned out, In the years since he came to the medicine divine path, Su Fong had been looking for his grandpa's reincarnation. The result disappointed him greatly. He searched for hundreds of years in the medicine divine path and secretly sensed all the alchemists and disciples countless times, but he didn't find his grandpa's destiny aura. He did find many auras that were connected to his grandpa's destiny aura, but they were very weak and almost undetectable. It was really strange. Su Fong could be sure that his grandpa's reincarnation was in the medicine divine path, but he couldn't find it. It was really strange. Since his grandpa's reincarnation was in the medicine divine path, even if he couldn't find him, Su Fong wouldn't let the treasure formation chamber of commerce touch the medicine divine path. Therefore, he didn't hesitate to use Dongxian Daozu to intimidate the people of the treasure formation chamber of commerce. Su Fong wasn't trying to intimidate the treasure formation chamber of commerce. If Zhao Shiqi didn't know when to back down, Su Fong really could do it. Even if he couldn't find Dongxian Daozu, Su Fong had other ways. He still had 2 chances to ask Shi Xian Daozu to act. At worst, he would use up 1 chance. Shi Xian Daozu's identity was a small matter. Dongxian Daozu would give him face no matter what. In less than 5 minutes, the medicine divine path had prepared elixirs as compensation. This amount of compensation wasn't a small sum for the medicine divine path, but the medicine divine path was rich. Since they wanted to spend money to avoid disaster, they naturally took it very quickly. The alchemist who almost caused the medicine divine path to be annexed was also brought into the main hall. It was a handsome young man. However, it was obvious that he had been shackled for too long. His face was pale, his back was slightly hunched, and his aura was weak. Buzz, buzz, buzz. The moment the young man appeared in the main hall, some Dao runes from the life-shrinking technique appeared around the divine aperture in Su Fong's heavenly path avatar's mind. Could it be that this young man had a destiny aura that was connected to him? Su Fong vaguely understood. His heart pounded as he hurriedly activated the life-shrinking technique. Even though it was difficult for the Heaven's Path spell body to execute the Heaven's secret life-shrinking technique, it could still easily sense the aura of destiny. Buzz, buzz, buzz. He carefully sensed. Finally, under Su Fong's anticipation, the Dao runes from the life-shrinking technique surged out from the depths of his divine aperture. At this moment, the life-shrinking technique allowed Su Fong to suddenly push aside the karma of destiny and see a mirror. On the surface of the mirror, some tadpole-like Dao runes were flashing. From the Dao runes, Su Fong discovered that it was a faint aura from his grandfather. Although it was very faint and weak, Su Fong definitely wouldn't mistake it. The reason why it was faint and hard to find was that after reincarnating, his grandfather already had a new destiny. The destiny of his previous life had become very difficult to detect. If not for the indelible destiny connection with his grandfather and the life-shrinking technique, Su Fong wouldn't have been able to sense that faint and weak destiny aura. Finally, a portion of the Dao runes miraculously fused together to form the image of a white-haired, hunchbacked elder. Finally, the elder's image overlapped with the young alchemist's appearance and turned into the same person. Su Fong's heart was in turmoil. At this moment, tears almost flowed out of his eyes. At the same time, Su Fong also understood why he hadn't been able to find his grandfather's reincarnation in the medicine god path all these years. That was because his grandfather's reincarnation was the alchemist who had caused great trouble. He had been shackled in layers of prison by the medicine god path. Su Fong had never thought that his grandfather's reincarnation would be the alchemist who had caused great trouble for the medicine god path. Naturally, he couldn't sense his destiny aura. Unexpectedly, he had never thought that after searching for his grandfather's reincarnation for so long, they would suddenly meet at this moment. It seems that all of this is destined. Su Fong's heart was filled with emotions. However, he didn't step forward to acknowledge him. The young alchemist was brought to the center of the hall. He also knew that he couldn't escape death. His face was expressionless as if he was a living dead. "Kill him," the yellow-robed young man said coldly. He was stopped by Su Fang and couldn't devour the medicine god path. He was full of resentment and directly vented it on the young alchemist. The purple-faced middle-aged man was about to make a move when Su Fang suddenly said, "This alchemist is my registered disciple. You can't kill him." The people of the medicine god path didn't expect Su Fang to cause trouble. They all looked at Su Fang in confusion. The young man was shocked. He raised his head and looked at Su Fang. At first, he was confused. Then, his eyes were filled with confusion. He obviously didn't know Su Fang, but he had a feeling of déjà vu. The yellow-robed young man let out a cold shout. "Su Fang, you don't even know this person. How did he become your registered disciple?" Su Fang revealed a domineering smile. "I didn't know him before. Now that I've said it, he is my registered disciple." The yellow-robed young man was furious. "Su Fang, are you deliberately provoking me? So what if I am?" Su Fang displayed the power of an overlord. He waved his hand and grabbed the young alchemist to his side. Chapter 29:17. The yellow-robed youth gritted his teeth. "This audacious brat, this highness will definitely, 17th highness." The purple-masked middle-aged man quickly stopped the yellow-robed youth. Then, he sent a message to the purple-masked youth. 17th highness, don't be so glib and give Su Fang something to use against you." The yellow-robed youth snorted. "This lowly ant dares to ride on this highness' head. How can this highness swallow this anger?" The purple-faced middle-aged man smiled coldly and embarrassedly. 17th highness, please be patient for now. When the top 10 ranking battle is over, not only the medicine god path, but even Su Fang will not be able to escape from your grasp. Why? As far as this lowly one knows, Su Fang is arrogant and despotic. Not only did he offend Dongxuan's brilliant young master, he is also a thorn in the side of the southern mystic divine region's geniuses. It's hard to say if he can even keep his life in the top 10, let alone get first place. As long as he doesn't get first place in Dongxian, he won't be noticed by Lord Daozu. Why should we be afraid of this person then? If he is injured or even killed in the ranking battle, then your highness won't have to worry about this person anymore. Humph, then this highness will endure for a few more days. When the time comes, this highness will make that brat suffer a fate worse than death. Asterisk, 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 at the peak of Slaughtering Mountain in the Blood Valley. After a brief introduction of the rules, the Jiuxuan expert said, "To encourage everyone, the Eastern Mystic Divine Region will reward the top 10 geniuses handsomely." There was a reward? Among the top 10 geniuses, other than Su Fang, everyone else looked unmoved. Before the Jiuxuan's heavenly selection began, Tua Qianji of the Eastern Mystic Divine Pavilion promised that those who enter the top 1,000 in the finals can enter the pavilion to cultivate and can choose 3 treasures from the pavilion's treasury. When the time comes, the treasures provided by the Eastern Mystic Divine Pavilion will be chosen according to the final ranking. Su Fang had been thinking about this reward for a long time. It looked like the last spirit item needed to cultivate the core of Heaven's path had been found. The other top 10 geniuses, on the other hand, all looked disinterested. To them, whether it was the rewards of entering Heaven Pavilion or the treasures provided by Heaven Pavilion, they did not care too much about them. What they cared about the most was the ranking of the top 10. With fame, what kind of status would they have? What kind of treasures would they not be able to obtain? Tua Qianji continued, "Lord Dongxian Daozu has also promised that no matter who wins first place, their status in the Eastern Divine Realm will be equivalent to that of a direct disciple of Lord Daozu, and be on par with the elders of the Heaven Pavilion." Dongxian Huihuang, Gu Tianqi, and Shu Chongxiao perked up when they heard his words, their gazes brimming with vigor. Among the other geniuses, there were also some who were tempted. The reward did not stop there. Tua Qianji continued, Other than the rewards from the Eastern Xian Divine Realm, the higher-ups of Jiuquan have also decided that the champion of the Jiuquan Heavenly Selection will automatically enter the Heavenly Ranking. Even Sima Xiaoxiao was moved when she heard this reward, and her cold and deep eyes burned with desire. The Heavenly Ranking was divided into Heaven, Earth, Profound, and Yellow rankings. There were not many geniuses in the entire Jiuquan Divine Realm who could be listed in the Heavenly Ranking. There were even fewer geniuses who were listed in the Heavenly Ranking. Other than possessing stunning ability and talent, they had to contribute greatly to the human race. The number of Heavenly Ranking geniuses in the entire Jiuquan Divine Realm could be counted with two hands. The Heavenly Ranking geniuses would receive the highest level of protection from Jiuquan's heavenly laws, and their status in the human world was extremely honorable. Who would not be tempted by such a great reward? Su Fang's heart was pounding as well, his desire to win first place surging within him. The Jiuquan experts had completely mobilized the fighting spirit of the top 10 geniuses, and the battle of the top 10 began. The battle of the top 10 was the center of attention. Since every genius had to meet each other in the battle of the top 10, there were 9 rounds of competition to determine the final ranking. The opponents for each round were decided by drawing lot. Xu Chongxiao was very unlucky, as the first round was between him and the Rock Prince. The Luo Xiao sword sex genius was indeed unlucky. In the battle of the top 10, he had encountered a strong opponent and suffered heavy injuries. Although he had recovered for 1,000 years, he was still far from his previous peak state. Unfortunately, he had encountered the Rock Prince this time. Although the Rock Prince was arrogant and conceited, he had the capital to back it up. He was powerful, ruthless, and brutal. Xu Chongxiao was naturally not his match. Gu Tianqi transmitted his voice to Xu Chongxiao. Xu Chongxiao, give up this round and preserve your strength. The relationship between the 3 profound sects and the Luo Xiao sword sect was not good, but Gu Tianqi was magnanimous and independent. He had a good relationship with Xu Chongxiao, which was why he reminded him. While Xu Chongxiao was hesitating, Dongxian Huihuang shouted, Xu Chongxiao, the entire Eastern Xian Divine Realm is watching the first round. You represent the Eastern Xian Divine Realm. Even if you can't win, you have to fight to the death and defend the honor of the Eastern Xian Divine Realm. Xu Chongxiao immediately felt the pressure as heavy as a mountain. Su Fang suddenly spoke, Xu Chongxiao, if you can exhaust the Rock Big Goblin's demonic power and injure him, Dongxian Huihuang will have one less strong opponent. Xu Chongxiao immediately understood Dongxian Huihuang's sinister intentions and gritted his teeth at him. Xu Chongxiao was grateful to Gu Tianqi and Su Fang. Dongxian Huihuang looked at Su Fang with an icy gaze, his cold eyes oozing with murderous intent. Xu Chongxiao passed through the formation and flew into the crimson substance in the center. He cupped his fists at the Jiuquan expert and said, Lord, this one concedes defeat. The Jiuquan expert nodded and said, knowing that you can't win, you still want to fight to the death. That's the bravery of a man. Knowing when to advance and retreat is the true courage of a cultivator. You may leave. Xu Chongxiao had admitted defeat before the Rock Prince even entered the arena. The Rock Prince grew even more arrogant. Dongxian trash, do you not even have the courage to face this king's son? He then pointed a finger at Dongxian Huihuang, Su Fang and Gu Tianqi, shouting proudly, you and you, if you meet this reputed one later, will all of you admit defeat like that trash just now? Su Fang looked at the Rock Prince and displayed a domineering aura. The finger you pointed at me with, I will break it in the next battle with you. Do the human cultivators of the Eastern Profound Divine Realm rely on their mouths to brag about their strength? The Pling Prince let out a wild laugh filled with disdain, as if he had heard the funniest joke. Su Fang smiled faintly and no longer paid attention to the arrogant Rock Prince. Dongxuan's genius had admitted defeat in the first battle, causing many Eastern Xian cultivators who saw this to feel depressed. There were even people cursing Xu Chongshao and the people from the Luo Shao sword school. The second battle was between Fu Xinai from southern Xian Divine Region and Dongxian Hui Huang. Compared to Dongxian Hui Huang, Fu Xinya's ability was obviously not on the same level. However, he did not give up and fought Dongxian Hui Huang with all his might. In the end, Dongxian Hui Huang defeated Fu Xinai with Tiange's ultimate skill, but he had paid a great price and used up a lot of energy. Dongxian Hui Huang had won the first battle for Eastern Xian, causing a huge commotion in Daoless City. Countless cultivators chanted Dongxian Hui Huang's name loudly, their voices reverberating in all directions. Even the geniuses in the Blood Valley could hear them. Dongxian Hui Huang's eyes flashed with a trace of pride when he heard the crowd's cheers. Dongxian Hui Huang had often enjoyed this feeling of being sought after, and was already numb to it. However, since the Blood Valley Elite competition, all of Dongxian Hui Huang's brilliance had been overshadowed by Su Fang. He no longer enjoyed the feeling of being sought after. Now that he heard the long-awaited praises, he felt like he was floating. The third battle. Sima Xiaoxiao landed on the crimson substance. As soon as she appeared, Daoless City fell into silence, the atmosphere becoming oppressive. Sima Xiaoxiao's opponent was a genius from another divine region named Jingtsang. He had a wooden personality and was not good with words. He was almost ignored in the finals of the Blood Valley. However, the fact that this person could come to Dongxian from another divine region and enter the top 10 showed that his ability was extraordinary. It was a pity that Jingtsang was even more unlucky than Xu Chongshao. His first battle was against Sima Xiaoxiao. Everyone thought that Jingtsang would give up immediately. Who knew? He flew onto the crimson substance and cupped his fists at Sima Xiaoxiao. Haotian Divine Region's Jingtsang seeks Dao friend Sima Xiaoxiao's guidance. Sima Xiaoxiao's icy gaze swept over Jingtsang as she said indifferently, "You're not my opponent. Give up." Jingtsang said woodenly, "I didn't come to Eastern Xian for fame and fortune. I only want to fight with Dongshuan's geniuses. I have no regrets even if I lose now that I can fight with Dao friend Sima, South Xian's top genius. Show me your strongest ability. Let's see if you're worthy of my careful treatment." Sima Xiaoxiao's icy tone was filled with a domineering air that looked down on everything. Haotian Divine Suppression. As Jingtsang spoke, 5 silhouettes flashed out from between his brows. They were 5 avatars. Jingtsang could cultivate 5 avatars with his cultivation base of Upper Daoless Realm. It was enough to show how extraordinary he was. The 5 avatars released a thought at the same time and converged together. There was a rumble. The thought released by the 5 avatars transformed into a 20-foot giant with 5 heads and 10 arms. This giant gave off the feeling that it was a giant god that could hold up heaven and earth. Swoosh! Swoosh! The giant's 10 hands formed seals at the same time, releasing endless 5-colored Xian Guang that surged like a tidal wave towards Sima Xiaoxiao. Even an ordinary lord of the mystic world could only dodge such a terrifying attack, not daring to face it head-on. Haotian Divine Region's supreme ability that can release the vast power of Haotian by combining the power of 5 avatars is indeed extraordinary. It looks like this is your strongest attack. Sima Xiaoxiao was about to be engulfed by the endless Xian Guang, but she remained unmoved. A thought flashed out and turned into a ball of black flame. As the flame danced, a black Xian Guang spread rapidly. The 5-colored Xian Guang was incinerated layer by layer as soon as it came into contact with the black light. Chapter 29:18. Sima Xiaoxiao said nonchalantly, "Although your Haotian force is a type of heavenly Dao's power, it's a pity that your cultivation base isn't high enough to unleash its true power. My flame contains the heavenly Dao's tribulation force, which is above yours. In addition, my understanding of flame far surpasses yours, so you're no match for me. Thank you for your guidance, Daoist Sima." Jing Tsang cupped his fists at Sima Xiaoxiao before flying off the crimson substance and returning to the altar. Just like that, Sima Xiaoxiao easily won her first victory. Eastern Xian's cultivators had witnessed Sima Xiaoxiao's ability. Although she had not displayed her full strength, it was enough to shock everyone. Those who had hoped that Dongshuan's Hui Wang and Su Fang could defeat her and take Dongshuan's first place had their hopes dashed. Demonis. Eastern Xian's cultivators began to call Sima Xiaoxiao as well. The fourth match. Su Fang vs. North Xian's formation genius, Gung Ming. On the crimson substance, Su Fang and Gung Ming stood facing each other. Gung Ming looked at Su Fang with a wry smile. I'm really unlucky. My first opponent is actually you. Su Fang smiled faintly. You might still have a chance. His relationship with Gung Ming was not bad, but this did not mean that he was not wary of Gung Ming. Gung Ming snorted. Don't try to bewitch me. Do you think I don't know your strength? Forget it, I don't want to exhaust too much of my strength on you. I should at least leave some to deal with the other geniuses so that I won't be too far behind in the top 10. That would be too embarrassing. Su Fang was surprised. You're giving up? Not to that extent. If I admit defeat without a fight, wouldn't it be embarrassing for me? I know you're proficient in formations as well, so I've decided to compete with you. Su Fang could not help but laugh. Competing with a North Xian formation genius like you? You're quite smart. The competition is simple. You and I will create the formation, and the other will break it. Whoever can't hold on in the end will be the loser. I won't take advantage of you. You can choose to set up or break the formation. Su Fang hesitated for a long time. In the end, he gritted his teeth and said, Fine, I'll agree with you. Of course, I'll choose to break the formation. However, you can't restrict the method of breaking the formation. Deal. Gung Ming was afraid that Su Fang would go back on his word, so he quickly agreed. He had witnessed Su Fang's strength with his own eyes, and knew that he was no match for Su Fang. That was why he proposed to compete in the art of formations. Gung Ming cultivated the Tao of formations, so he was quite confident that he had at least a 50% chance of winning against Su Fang. Gu Tianqi and Xu Chongxiao both frowned when they saw that Su Fang had actually agreed to compete with Gung Ming in terms of formations. Su Fang was clearly using his own shortcomings to compete with Gung Ming's strength. He was unavoidably overconfident. Dongxian Hui Wang snorted, arrogant and conceited. Do you really think you can do anything? The geniuses from the other god realms were also puzzled. They couldn't figure out why Su Fang would agree to compete with Gung Ming in array formations. This was Su Fang's first battle, so the Dongxian cultivators in Daolis City naturally paid extra attention to it. Most of the cultivators had blind faith in Su Fang, thinking that other than Sima Xiaoxiao, the other geniuses were no match for Su Fang. Not many people thought that there was anything wrong with Su Fang choosing to compete with Beishuan's formation genius. Luo Xiao Sword Sect's Grand Elder raised his eyebrows when he saw Su Fang's choice. Isn't Su Fang a little too arrogant? Exalted Senior Chuanqiu snorted. Grand Elder Luo Xiao, you've underestimated Su Fang too much. His scheming is much deeper than you think. He has mastered the Heavens Mandate platform's ultimate power, the unraveling mystery, and cultivated the Tao of formations. Coupled with all sorts of extraordinary techniques, no matter how fast and powerful Beishuan's formation genius is in creating formations, how can he be faster than Su Fang? The Grand Elder of the Luminous Firmament Sword School came to a sudden realization and laughed. That brat is really despicable. Victory is clearly in his grasp, but he pretended to be unwilling. He even tricked me. On the crimson substance, Su Fang and Gung Ming were 1,000 feet apart as they sat cross-legged on the ground. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Gung Ming didn't make any hand seals or release his thoughts, but the space between him and Su Fang began to ripple violently as one formation after another rapidly formed. Beishuan's formation genius skill was extremely high. He had already reached the level of forming a formation with a single thought. He only needed to circulate his arcane energy and will to trigger the energy of heaven and earth to form a formation. Second-level formation? Gungming, you're underestimating me, Su Fang, too much. How can a mere grade 2 formation stump me? Su Fang chuckled softly as his thoughts rippled. Puff, puff, puff. The formation that Gungming had just formed shattered layer by layer. Su Fang, you monster. You've actually cultivated the Tao of formations to the level of forming a formation with a single thought. I really don't know how you've cultivated. Since you can't do a second-level formation, then try my third-level formation. Gungming was shocked when he saw Su Fang also using a single thought to form a formation with a single thought. After all, a cultivator's energy and talent were limited. It was impossible for them to do everything. Most cultivators had to exhaust all their energy to cultivate a Tao, and it was difficult for them to achieve anything. Su Fang's main Tao wasn't the Tao of formations, but he was able to cultivate the Tao of formations to the level of forming a formation with a single thought. This was a level that many formation masters couldn't reach in their entire lives. If he wasn't a monster, then what was he? One formation after another was quickly formed by Gungming's thoughts. The array formations that Gungming created this time were all level 3 array formations. Even Bei Xian, who was an outstanding array formation master, was rarely able to set up array formations at such a fast speed. Furthermore, all of them were level 3 array formations. However, Gungming's use of a single thought to set up a formation obviously put a lot of burden on him. Soon, his face turned pale and beads of sweat appeared on his forehead. Su Fang didn't dare to be careless. His primordial spirit Dharma body went all out. Fortunately, he had cultivated the Tao of formations with the help of the Luo Tian wheel. He had comprehended many types of formations. Coupled with the ability of his primordial spirit Dharma body, the speed of breaking the formation was naturally astonishing. Under Su Fang's pressure, Gungming had no choice but to speed up the formation. However, he still couldn't surpass Su Fang's speed of breaking the formation. On the contrary, under the pressure of Su Fang, Gungming was a little flustered. Su Fang, you monster. Let's see how you're going to break my 4th-level formation. Gungming gritted his teeth and formed a series of dazzling hand gestures with both hands. He was a newly advanced 4th-grade array master, so he was still a little unfamiliar with creating 4th-grade arrays. It was difficult for him to create an array with a single thought. Instead, he directly formed seals to set up the array. His speed was clearly several times slower than before, but the array he created was 10 times stronger than the previous 3rd-grade array. It's a 4th-level formation. I underestimated Gungming in the past. To be able to become a 4th-level formation master at such a young age, he is indeed the formation genius of Bei Xian. Su Fang's eyes were filled with seriousness. There was a watershed between 3rd-level and 4th-level formations. Even a peak 3rd-level formation master wouldn't be able to retaliate against a newly promoted 4th-level formation master. And Su Fang was a peak 3rd-level formation master who had cultivated 3rd-level formations to the extreme. It wasn't that he wasn't talented enough. It was just that the time he had spent on the formation was too short. Although he had an extraordinary primordial spirit Dharma body and the Luo Tian wheel, it couldn't make up for this gap. However, Su Fang had the heavens derivation solution. Staring at the layers of formations that Gungming was rapidly creating, Su Fang's eyes surged and changed with a mysterious divine light. His eyes became extremely deep and sharp, as if there was no secret in the world that could be hidden from his eyes. Heaven's prying eye. The 4th-level formation created by Gungming suddenly became full of flaws under Su Fang's heaven's prying eye. Qi, qi, qi. Su Fang grabbed out streaks of sword qi and shot them at the formation. Each streak of sword chi landed precisely on the flaws of the formation. The sword chi wasn't very powerful, but it caused the powerful fourth-level formation to collapse. Soon, the fourth-level formation created by Gung Ming was completely destroyed by Su Fang. The speed at which he set up the formation couldn't keep up with the speed at which Su Fang broke it. Su Fang said with a smile, "Gung Ming, your fourth-level formation doesn't seem to be very good." It collapsed with a touch. "Is this a fourth-level formation?" Gung Ming shouted in exasperation. "I've been fooled, I've actually been fooled by you. How could I forget that you've obtained the supreme ability of the Heaven's Fate stage, and the Heaven's Derivation Solution and the Heaven's Derivation Solution, especially the Heaven's Derivation Solution, are the nemesis of formations. How could I be so stupid as to compete with you in formations?" Su Fang laughed. "Since you know, why don't you admit defeat?" Gung Ming gritted his teeth and said, "If you can break my 5 elements Sumer formation, I'll admit defeat." "You can create the 5 elements Sumeru formation?" Su Fangdao was shocked. The 5 elements Sumeru formation was not a 4th-level formation, but a genuine 7th-level formation. It was at the same level as the yin-yang reversal formation of the Eastern Profound Heaven Pavilion. Only a true formation master could create such a high-level formation. Gung Ming grinned. "Although I'm not a formation master, I can use the formation plate to set up a formation. Have you forgotten that I'm from Beixian? How could I not have the Xian Bao to set up a formation?" Su Fang's eyebrows furrowed. "You're cheating." Gung Ming chuckled and said, "You didn't say before that I can't use formation tools to create a formation. Moreover, the top 10 ranking tournament doesn't restrict Xian Bao. The formation plate is also a kind of Xian Bao. As long as I can activate it, it's not a violation." Su Fang snorted. "You're really despicable. Su Fang, you're going to lose this time. No matter how cunning you are, I'll make you drink the water that I wash my feet with. If I can beat you, even if I lose the next 8, I'll have enough capital to show off." "Ha ha ha!" Gung Ming laughed proudly. He didn't expect this seemingly honest formation master to be so cunning. He had already prepared this move for Su Fang. Whoosh! Gung Ming grabbed 5 discs of different colors and waved his hand. They landed in front of him and exploded with a 5-colored Xian Guang. The power of the 5 elements formed an independent space in an instant. Gung Ming said proudly, "Su Fang, even if you have the Heaven's Divination and can see the flaws of the 5 elements Sumeru formation, with your strength, even if you use your strongest attack, it will be difficult to shake it. Why don't you admit defeat?" "Admit defeat?" Su Fang suddenly revealed a domineering smile. Chapter 29:19. Suddenly, Su Fang put his palms together and separated them abruptly. Bam! A black Xian Guang shot out from between Su Fang's palms. A black horn was spinning at high speed, emitting a soul-stirring sound. What kind of evil Xian Guang is that? Gung Ming felt his soul trembling, as if a hole was going to be drilled through his body by this strange black horn. He could not help but be shocked. The sky-piercing conch drill. When Su Fang first entered the Blood Valley, he had subdued a formation master, Master Zhuo. This black horn was his ultimate artifact to break formations. Although Master Zhuo was not a true formation master, this Xian Guang was indeed powerful, specialized in breaking all kinds of formations. Su Fang knew that he would have to fight Gung Ming in the top 10 ranking match, so he had obtained the sky-piercing conch drill from Master Zhuo. He did not expect it to be of great use now. He had the Purple Fate avatar, so he did not need to merge with the sky-piercing conch drill to activate its power. With Su Fang's current ability, he could activate the sky-piercing conch drill's power to its maximum and break the 5 elements Sumer formation with the help of the Heaven's Expansion solution. Swoosh! The sky-piercing conch drill shot out, landing right at the flaw of the 5 elements Sumeru formation. As it spun, it erupted with a might that distorted and tore apart everything, drilling a hole in the 5 elements Sumeru grand formation. After that, it started to shatter layer by layer. In the end, it collapsed with a loud bang, and the 5 formation discs fell to the ground. Gung Ming was dumbfounded. Su Fong smiled awkwardly. Gung Ming, you've lost. Su Fong, I didn't expect to lose to you in the art of formations. I admit defeat. Gung Ming shook his head helplessly. He had no choice but to admit defeat. Just like that, Su Fong obtained the first victory in the top 10 ranking mat. The other geniuses were watching this battle, hoping to understand Su Fong's true ability. Who would have thought that Su Fong would defeat Gung Ming with formations, surprising and shocking everyone. Dongxian Hui Wang scoffed, playing to the gallery, showing off. Su Fong looked at him coldly. Dongxian Hui Wang, you've been mocking me again and again. Don't you feel like a clown? Dongxian Hui Wang chuckled coldly. When we meet next, I will reveal your true colors. Before absolute power, all of your abilities will become a joke. Su Fong looked at Dongxuan's resplendent right arm. It looks like crippling one of your arms isn't enough of a lesson for you. Dongxian's splendid glory was infuriated by thunder. At this time, Gu Tianqi and the Demon Clan youth were already fighting on the blood-red substance, attracting everyone's attention. The Monster Clan youth revealed his true monster body and transformed into a sky-devouring divine python that was hundreds of meters long. He displayed his innate ability and engaged in an earth-shattering battle with Gu Tianqi. Gu Tianqi had no choice but to go all out. In the end, he used the great taboo-breaking art to defeat the young monster. However, Gu Tianqi's magic power and energy had been greatly depleted, and a lot of his life force had been devoured by the godly sky-devouring python. This victory could be said to be a Pyrrhic victory. He rested for 6 hours. The battle of the top 10 had entered the second round. The first round was Sima Xiaoxiao versus Gung Ming. Unlucky, how unlucky. My first battle was Su Fong, and my second battle is with this demoness. Why am I so unlucky? Gung Ming flew onto the blood-red substance with a frown, looking at Sima Xiaoxiao with a wry smile. Sima Xiaoxiao coldly said, I've never cultivated the Tao of array formations, and I won't play to the gallery like a certain person and compete with you in array formations. Make your move. Gung Ming shook his head. No, I forfeit this round. Sima Xiaoxiao raised her eyebrows. Admitting defeat when you meet an expert? You're humiliating the title of cultivator. I know I'm not a match for you, demoness, but I still want to fight you. Isn't that stupid? Gung Ming smiled nonchalantly and jumped off the blood-red substance. On the altar beside Gung Ming, Fu Xinai mocked, Eastern Xian's cultivators are all trash. I didn't expect Northern Xian's cultivators to be trash as well. His words made the other Eastern Xian geniuses glare at him angrily. The result of the draw for the second round was Fu Xinai, and his opponent was Su Fong. Fu Xinai's expression turned extremely ugly. Gung Ming laughed. Fu Xinai, didn't you say that Eastern Xian's cultivators are all trash? Then you should teach that trash Su Fong a lesson. So what if he's Su Fong? Even if I can't defeat him, I'll make him go all out. Fu Xinai laughed coldly and jumped onto the blood-red substance in a flash. Su Fong also flew onto the blood-red substance. He looked at Fu Xinai and said indifferently, You think you're worthy to make me go all out? Arrogant. I'll show you my divine atlas of 10,000 beasts. Fu Xinai activated a scroll and quickly unfurled it. On the scroll, there were pictures of divine beasts. After being activated, the pictures of the divine beasts seemed to come alive and flashed out of the scroll. Roar, roar, roar. More than 100 divine beasts of various types roared in unison. Their demonic aura soared into the sky and shook the blood-red substance. Su Fong, if you don't use your full strength, you'll be eaten by my beast horde. Fu Xinai laughed arrogantly. Rumble. More than 100 divine beasts charged at Su Fong. Boom. Su Fong released his killing intent and instantly turned it into a bloody prison that enveloped the divine beasts and Fu Xinai. Under the impact of the terrifying murderous aura, the divine beasts all trembled and their speed suddenly slowed down. Su Fong in blood-red clothes rose from the bloody prison and slashed out with his saber. A bloody light swept out like a river of blood. The bloody saber light tore through the beast horde and instantly reached Fu Xinai. Fu Xinye's divine light changed as he opened his mouth and spat out a Xian Guang. An ancient beast-head statue appeared in front of him. Clang! The saber light slashed the statue and was shattered. The killing intent within was also dispersed by the ancient aura of the beast-head statue. A crack appeared on the beast-head statue. It quickly shrank and flew into Fu Xinye's body. Fu Xinai sneered disdainfully. "You're just SOSO." Who knew? A pair of Xian Guang that looked like a bee's wings suddenly appeared behind Su Fong and trembled slightly. Buzz! An inaudible buzz attacked Fu Xinye's primordial spirit, causing his consciousness to become blurry. On the other hand, Su Fong's figure flashed and disappeared from where he stood. He instantly appeared in front of Fu Xinai and punched out. This punch contained all the power and will of Su Fong's blood fiend avatar. It landed on Fu Xinye's body with an unstoppable force. Fu Xinye's profound armor and physical defense were shattered. Like a cannonball, he was sent flying by the power of the blood evil avatar. With a boom, he landed thousands of feet away. Puff! Fu Xinai spat out 3 mouthfuls of blood with pieces of his organs. His physical body looked fine, but his organs, bones, and blood had all been severely injured by the killing intent. It was as if he had lost half his life. "I admit defeat." Fu Xinai was unwilling to admit defeat, but he had to admit defeat. If he didn't, he would lose his life here. Su Fong was about to leave the blood-red substance when Fu Xinai suddenly asked, "Su Fong, how much of your strength did you use?" Su Fong was stunned for a moment before replying, "About 50 to 60%. You only used 50 to 60% of your strength, but you managed to severely injure me." Fu Xinye's heart was filled with bitterness. "As expected, I'm not qualified for you to use your full strength." In fact, Su Fong had only used 30 to 40% of his strength at most. Although the Blood Jade soul-slaying saber was powerful, it was not his real trump card. The wing-like Xian Bao he had just activated was the material he had obtained from the strongest of the chrysalis in the 5th trial. He had asked the master artificer of the Divine Cauldron Palace to refine it into a flying Xian Bao. This Xian Bao could not only allow Su Fong to teleport continuously, it could also release a power that could attack one's soul. However, this Xian Bao was still not Su Fong's trump card. He had said that not because he was afraid of hurting Fu Xinai, but because he didn't want to reveal his true strength too early. Su Fong's main enemy was Sima Xiaoxiao. The others were nothing to be afraid of, including Dongxian Hui Huang and the prince of the Peng clan. Even they could not make him use his full strength, let alone Fu Xinai. Su Fong defeated Fu Xinai easily and domineeringly like a whirlwind. This scene was witnessed by the Dongxian cultivators in Dallas City, causing waves of cheers to erupt. The major forces of the Eastern Xian Divine region and the Mystic Worlds also watched the Battle of the Top 10 through various means. In Fangtian City, the streets were empty. Be it cultivators or mortals, they all stared at the huge formation screen in the sky. Seeing Su Fong crush Fu Xinai, everyone cheered excitedly. Medicine God Dao. All the higher-ups were paying attention to the Battle of the Top 10. The pill refinement masters were engrossed in refining pills and did not pay attention to the outside world. The proud pill refinement masters of Medicine God Dao did not pay much attention to the Battle of the Top 10. Now that Su Fong had become an elder of Medicine God Dao, Su Fong's performance in the Battle of the Top 10 was directly related to the survival of Medicine God Dao. How could the higher-ups not pay attention to it? Su Fong's victory over Fu Xinai shocked and excited the higher-ups of Medicine God Dao. As for Su Fong's Heaven's Path avatar, it stayed in its residence after taking the young pill refinement master away. Not far from Medicine God Dao, The Baoqing Chamber of Commerce's treasured ship stopped in the void. How could Zhao Shiqi of the divine clan be satisfied that he could not swallow medicine god Dao this time? He stayed outside medicine god Dao to observe Su Feng's performance in the battle of the top 10. Once Su Feng did not perform well, Zhao Shiqi would return to medicine god Dao without hesitation. Not only would he swallow medicine god Dao, he would not let Su Feng's Heaven's Path avatar go. 50 to 60% of his strength is so shocking. Su Feng is so strong. When the yellow-robed youth, Zhao Shiqi, saw the scene of Su Feng defeating Fu Xinai through a mirror treasure, his eyes were filled with shock and horror. Chapter 29-20. The second round of the top 10 exclusion battle was still ongoing. Since every two geniuses in the top 10 would meet each other, Su Feng did not dare to be careless. He concentrated all his energy and even used his heaven-prying eye to observe the other geniuses. Gu Tianqi encountered a powerful opponent this time. It was the prince of the Peng clan from the demon world. The Peng clan prince was very arrogant. He did not put Gu Tianqi in his eyes at all. He shouted at Gu Tianqi, "Human race cultivator, you are not a match for this king's son. Admit defeat obediently. Aren't you human cultivators the best at bullying the weak and fearing the strong?" Gu Tianqi raised his eyebrows and shouted coldly. The demon world was invaded by the foreign races. The demon race had no choice but to flee to the southern profound divine domain of the human world. You are just stray dogs now. How dare you look down on the human race? You dare to mock the demon race? Gu Tianqi's words stabbed the Peng clan prince's sore spot. His eyes flashed fiercely. Then, he gritted his teeth and said, "Aren't you humans planning to rely on the demon race to fight against the foreign races together? Without the demon race, the human race would have been destroyed by the foreign races sooner or later." Gu Tianqi smiled embarrassedly. "Do you know why the demon race was destroyed? It was because the foreign races were too strong. It was not because the demon race was too weak. It seems like you still don't understand. I guess even the strongest experts of the demon race do not understand why the demon race was defeated. The demon race was destroyed not because you were not strong enough. It was because you did not have the things that the human race has." "What are those things?" "Dreams, beliefs." "Dreams, beliefs? Kiki. Can those things be eaten or killed?" "Dreams and beliefs can't be eaten, neither can they be killed. However, they could enable human cultivators to face all kinds of difficulties, even the dangers of destruction. They wouldn't give up when they were in a hopeless situation. They would still have the courage to face death generously when they were faced with death." Gu Tianqi's voice moved the other geniuses and made them look at him in a new light. The Jiuxuan expert and the other two higher-ups of the Jiuxuan divine domain also secretly nodded. Why was the human race able to survive in the primal chaos and grow stronger from being weak? In addition to human wisdom, there was also courage and faith. It was precisely because of the countless cultivators who had dreams and firm beliefs that the human race was able to prosper as it was today. This was something that the monster race and other races could not see through. Many human cultivators could not see through, but Gu Tianqi could see through it very clearly. With such breadth of mind and vision, his future achievements would definitely be extraordinary. The Rock Clan Prince and the Heaven-swallowing Divine Python sneered in disdain, scoffing at Gu Tianqi's words. Jiuxuan's Heaven's chosen. Which cultivator doesn't dream of standing at the peak and enjoying the glory of being a supreme genius? However, only one person can stand at the peak in the end, and that person will definitely not be me. However, my dream and belief in reaching the peak will never be extinguished. I, Gu Tianqi, am definitely not the strongest in this Jiuxuan. Naturally, I will face defeat. I will also give up, but I will not lose the courage to confront the strong because of fear. Even if I fail, I will still be glorious. Gu Tianqi revealed a lofty and unyielding expression. Then I will use my strength to crush your dreams and beliefs into pieces. I will use this to tell you humans how laughable your so-called dreams and beliefs are in the face of absolute strength," the Rock Clan prince shouted domineeringly. With a shake of his arms, a demonic wind soared into the sky and turned into a violent hurricane that swept towards Gu Tianqi. Whoosh! Gu Tianqi released a thought and erupted with the power of space. The distance between him and the Rock Clan prince was extended infinitely in an instant. The hurricane created by the Rock Clan prince looked astonishing, but it was still unable to attack Gu Tianqi. Swoosh! The Rock Clan prince charged out like a bolt of lightning. His speed surpassed the restrictions of space, and he instantly arrived in front of Gu Tianqi. Puff! Gu Tianqi's figure floated backwards, but he was still torn to pieces by the Rock Clan prince's claw. However, what Gu Tianqi was torn to pieces was an afterimage that he had left behind an instant ago. The three supreme profound sects were famous in the Eastern profound divine realm for their time, space, and will of the heavenly Tao. As the number one disciple of the three supreme profound sects, Gu Tianqi's control over these three great divine abilities had naturally reached an astonishing level. At this moment, when he was fighting with the Rock Clan prince, he had fully displayed the great Tao of time and space. Puff! Puff! The Rock Clan prince unleashed his innate ability. His speed was incomparably astonishing, and his body was not restricted by space. However, he was unable to surpass the power of time that Gu Tianqi unleashed with his thoughts, and continuously shattered Gu Tianqi's afterimages. "Didn't you say that you were full of heroism just now? Why do you only know how to run for your life now? This king's son will make it so that you have nowhere to run. Void Claw." The Rock Clan prince sneered in disdain. A claw that was 300 meters in size grabbed at Gu Tianqi and the surrounding space. The blood-colored substance was created by the Jiuquan experts with a supreme divine ability. It didn't seem big, but there was actually a vast and boundless space inside, allowing cultivators to unleash their abilities to their heart's content. The Rock Clan prince's claw had the power to directly cover 1,000 miles of space. Everything within this range was imprisoned, and Gu Tianqi's time and space divine abilities were also quickly suppressed. He lost the space to unleash them, and was about to be shackled. Three mysteries become one, everything becomes void, three mysteries return to origin seal. Gu Tianqi suddenly formed a seal and unleashed three shocking seals in succession. They erupted with time, space, and a powerful will that was like the heavenly Tao. The three powers merged into one and formed a palm print. It collided with the Rock Clan prince's claw print and shattered it. The surrounding power of the shackles also disappeared. In Su-Rua Valley, Gu Tianqi had also obtained a peerless great divine ability from the auxiliary tower. Its power even surpassed the Great Taboo Technique. After all, the Great Taboo Technique was not a true offensive divine ability. It was used to seal and shackle powerful enemies. However, Gu Tianqi's newly obtained divine ability, the three mysteries return to origin seal, was clearly not fully mastered yet. He could only form a seal and not use his thoughts. Moreover, after using the three mysteries return to origin seal, his aura suddenly became sluggish. It was obvious that he could not hold on any longer. The Rock Clan prince was sent flying by the power of the three mysteries returned to origin seal. In a fit of anger, he unleashed his full strength and transformed into a giant black rock that was more than 500 feet tall. The giant rock flapped its wings and raised a black Xian Guang. It swept towards Gu Tianqi like a storm. The space began to collapse layer by layer. It was impossible for Gu Tianqi to escape from the blood-red matter. However, he gritted his teeth and released three Dharma bodies. He was about to use the Great Taboo Technique with all his might. Gu Tianqi has lost this battle. The Rock Clan prince has won. The Jiuquan powerhouse suddenly spoke. His thoughts transformed into a giant hand that directly reached into the blood-red matter space. It passed through layers of collapsed space and instantly took Gu Tianqi away from the space. This king just said that the so-called dreams and beliefs of the human race are all jokes in front of this king's absolute strength. The Rock Clan prince transformed back into his human form and laughed wildly as he left the blood-red matter. What a pity! Gu Tianqi has still lost. Is there any cultivator who is always victorious? Gu Tianqi has lost honorably this time. That Rock Clan prince is going to be arrogant again. The geniuses on the surrounding altars and the cultivators of Daolist City felt a wave of pity. The shadow of defeat loomed over everyone's hearts. Everyone felt a sinking feeling in their hearts. In the next battle, Dongxian Hui Huang finally redeemed some dignity for the Eastern Xian Divine Realm cultivators. However, it wasn't easy. In the end, he used the Eastern Xian Pavilion's ultimate technique, the Yin-Yang Prime Art, to defeat Jing Tsang from the Haotian Divine Realm and claim the second victory. The last battle of the second round was between the Yao youth and Xu Chongshao. Although Xu Chongshao fought with all his might, the difference in their strength was still not small. In the end, he lost to the Yao youth. After the end of the second round, the strength of the top 10 could be roughly determined. Sima Xiaoxiao, Su Fang, Dongxian Hui Huang, and the Rock Clan prince had all won 2 battles. The strength they displayed was obviously a level higher than the other geniuses. The crowd also ranked these 10 people. Although many Eastern Xian cultivators were reluctant, they had to admit that Sima Xiaoxiao's first place was unshakable. Su Fang, Dongxian Hui Huang, and the Rock Clan prince were all capable of fighting for the second place. After half a day's rest, the third round of the top 10 ranking battle began. In this round, Su Fang drew the first battle. His opponent was the Yao youth. The Yao youth had been defeated by Gu Tianqi in the first round and defeated Xu Chongshao in the second round. He became arrogant again, sweeping a contemptuous glance at Su Fang and smirking coldly. Let this reputed one see the so-called courage and conviction of the human race. I don't need any courage or conviction to deal with you. I only need to crush you directly, Su Fang said faintly, a hint of dominance in his tone. You want to crush this reputed one? This reputed one will let you know what fear is. The Yao youth transformed into a divine sky-devouring python 1,000 feet long, opening his mouth to spit out a jet of black venom. The divine sky-devouring python not only had the innate ability to devour heaven and earth, but could also spit out demonic venom. The toxicity of the demonic venom was truly shocking. Even the space was corroded when it was spat out, emitting a terrifying sizzling sound. Do you think a mere demonic venom can threaten me? Su Fang sneered disdainfully. With a wave of his hand, he swept out a jet of poisonous blood, colliding with the divine sky-devouring python's venom. As the 2 jets of venom collided, muffled explosions rang out. A portion of the demonic venom was evaporated, while the rest was infiltrated and merged with the poisonous blood. In the end, it was all swallowed and absorbed into Su Fang's body. The divine sky-devouring python twisted its huge body, opening its mouth to suck in Su Fang. The space trembled as everything in it, including Su Fang, flew into the divine sky-devouring python's mouth. Break! A saber light with an aura that could destroy everything shattered the divine sky-devouring python's power of devouring. Swoosh swoosh. Su Fang then waved his arms, transforming into the blood vine state. He charged at the Yao youth from both sides and tightly wrapped around him. Chapter 29-21. In truth, the monster youth was not completely defenseless. The heaven-piercing Blood King vine was simply too famous. Not only did it have the ability to pierce through the heavens and earth, but it also had an evil and powerful devouring ability. This was especially true for monsters. The heaven-piercing Blood King vine was best at devouring blood energy and turning living beings into dried corpses. Therefore, the heaven-piercing Blood King vine was a taboo to most monsters. There was no one who was not afraid of it. Su Fang did not need to use any other abilities. Just the heaven-piercing Blood King Vine was enough to kill the monster youth. It was better to admit defeat as soon as possible. The heaven-piercing Blood King Vine coiled around Su Fang's body, then quickly retracted and reformed into 2 arms. Su Fang wins, the Jiuquan expert announced loudly. The other 2 upper echelons of the 9 Xian immortals looked at Su Fang, fear flickering in their eyes as they secretly communicated with the 9 Xian immortals. Is that really the heaven-piercing Blood King Vine? How can a human merge with the heaven-piercing Blood King Vine? Su Fang obtained a seed of the heaven-piercing Blood King Vine when the alien race invaded the Eastern Xian divine realm. It is his luck and fortune to be able to merge with it. Moreover, this kid has the Spider King Vine and various other extraordinary abilities. He will definitely become a powerful expert of the human race in the future. Such a talented seedling must be carefully nurtured. I heard that the mother of the heaven-piercing Blood King Vine is still in the Eastern Xian divine realm, and its whereabouts are unknown. It will definitely attack Su Fang. We must protect him strictly and raise his ranking on the Profound Sky ranking. The 3 supreme experts had already decided that Su Fang was a potential seedling. They secretly paid attention to him. Su Fang returned to the spell altar outside. The Pring Prince's gloomy voice sounded. Relying on the evil alien race. Is this how you call yourself a genius of the human race? If you meet me, even the heaven-piercing Blood King Vine won't be able to save you. Su Fang ignored the Prince of the Rock Clan and looked at Gu Tianqi. For the Demon Clan, talking to them about courage and belief is like playing the lute to a cow. Beat them until they kneel and beg for mercy, they will naturally understand everything. Gu Tianqi gave a thumbs up and praised loudly, "Brilliant, I've learned a lot." Xu Chongxiao, Gung Ming, and the other human cultivators also laughed. Su Fang, I hope you can still be so stubborn when you meet me. The Rock Prince's eyes immediately burned with a raging demonic fire. He wished he could burn Su Fang to death on the spot. Dongxian Hui Huang snorted coldly. I was just lucky. First, I got the Weaver Spider, then I got the heaven-piercing Blood King Rattan. These are merely external objects. What's there to brag about when you've gained your strength with the help of external objects? Su Fang retorted sarcastically. So, young Master Dongxian Huihuang's cultivation has never relied on external objects. However, I remember that during the elite competition, someone was capturing celestial blood-refined mastiffs everywhere in the Blood Valley. I wonder what he was planning to do? Dongxian Huihuang felt like he had been slapped in public, and Su Fang had reopened his old wound. He gritted his teeth for a long time. Outside the Medicine God Avenue, Zhao Shiqi, the divine crown prince in the treasured ship, saw Su Fang defeating the Yao youth through the Mirror Xian Bao and asked in surprise, "What is the heaven-piercing Blood King Rattan? Is it very powerful?" The purple-faced, middle-aged man's face was a little pale. A chill ran down his spine as he said in a trembling voice, "The heaven-piercing Blood King Rattan is very powerful, extremely powerful. 17th Highness, why don't we forget about the Medicine God Avenue?" Zhao Shiqi snorted coldly. "Forget about it? Didn't you persuade me to stay here? Why are you persuading me to forget about it now?" I just don't believe that Su Fang can really defy the heavens. Unless he gets first place in the Jiuquan's Gods Chosen, I won't let this matter go. The third round of the top 10 competition ended quickly under everyone's watchful eyes. The result was not surprising. After the third round, Sima Xiaoxiao, Su Fang, Dongxian Huihuang, and the prince of the Peng tribe still maintained their victories. The others had their wins and losses, but it was still too early to talk about the outcome. After a short break, the fourth round began. In the first match, Dongxian Huihuang went against North Xian's formation genius, Gung Ming. Gung Ming admitted defeat without a fight again. His intention was simple. He wanted to preserve his strength when he met an expert, completely giving up on his goal of being in the top 3 and fighting for the best ranking. Such a strategy was despised, but Gung Ming was thick-skinned and was not afraid of being mocked. The second match brought the top 10 ranking competition to a climax. Sima Xiaoxiao versus the Prince of the Peng tribe. The other top 10 geniuses around the Crimson Substance, as well as countless cultivators in Dallas City, were paying close attention to this battle. Even the 3 peerless experts who were hosting the top 10 ranking competition were watching the duo's every move without blinking. Su Fang's eyes were surging with the light of deduction from the heaven's divination solution. He was watching more carefully than the others. On the Crimson Substance, the Prince of the Peng tribe looked at Sima Xiaoxiao, his eyes gleaming with a fiery light as he said domineeringly, "Sima Xiaoxiao, you're the only human woman that this king has taken a fancy to. Only this king is worthy of you. This king wants to conquer you in this battle. If you fail, you must become this king's woman." Arrogant, too arrogant. This Prince of the Peng tribe is really asking for a beating. How can Sima Xiaoxiao withstand the big goblin's torture with her body? In this struggle, Sima Xiaoxiao will definitely go all out. Dallas City was in an uproar. Sima Xiaoxiao's eyes were like an ancient well as she said coldly, "Sure." Everyone was not surprised. They did not expect Sima Xiaoxiao to agree so straightforwardly. The Prince of the Peng tribe was stunned, and then his eyes lit up with excitement. Who knew? Sima Xiaoxiao continued, "If you fail, you must become my slave." Su Fang's heart trembled. This woman is really domineering. She actually used this as a wager. It seems that she has full confidence in defeating the Prince of the Peng tribe. It's a deal. The Prince of the Peng tribe agreed without hesitation. Then, he quickly transformed into his true form and transformed into a giant Peng. Although he was arrogant, he also understood that his opponent was powerful. He used his most powerful innate ability. An evil and violent black Xian Guang spread out from his body, and his cold eyes stared at Sima Xiaoxiao. Chi chi chi. The surrounding space quickly began to distort and fluctuate violently, becoming incomparably crazy. The terrifying spatial distortion power covered Sima Xiaoxiao. Sima Xiaoxiao's body began to burn, instantly turning into a burning black flame state. The black flame was incomparably shocking. It did not look very hot, but it emitted the aura of a heavenly tribulation. It actually burned the space distortion divine power that crushed over layer by layer. Immediately after, the flame that Sima Xiaoxiao had transformed into suddenly became illusory and directly dissipated in space. Just as the Prince of the Peng tribe was surprised, balls of flames suddenly appeared around him and surged toward him like raging waves. The strange thing was that this flame did not have the slightest bit of heat. It directly seeped into the Prince of the Peng tribe's demon body. Fallen Dao Heart Flame. The Prince of the Peng tribe was shocked. Immediately, he felt a scorching heat from the depths of his soul, causing his entire body to burn. This is the true power of the Fallen Dao Heart Flame. It's more than 10 times stronger than the Fallen Dao Heart Flame that I used when fighting with Sima Xiaoxiao in Su Ruo Valley. This scene shocked Su Fang. The demon race's physical body was incomparably powerful. Their bloodline and bones naturally contained the laws of the heavenly Dao. Therefore, they had never cultivated any Dao heart. Therefore, they were most afraid of this kind of attack that targeted the origin soul. Facing Sima Xiaoxiao's fallen Dao heart flame, the Prince of the Peng tribe's origin soul had to be burned clean. No matter how monstrous his demon chi was, it was difficult for him to escape. In the end, he had no choice but to admit defeat. The Jiuxuan expert announced loudly, "Sima Xiaoxiao wins." The black flame flickered and quickly condensed into a human figure. In the end, it condensed into Sima Xiaoxiao's physical form. She was still as arrogant and cold as ever. However, in the eyes of everyone, Sima Xiaoxiao was 10 times more terrifying than that demon. The Prince of the Peng tribe transformed into his human form and glanced at Sima Xiaoxiao resentfully. There was no longer the arrogance in his eyes. Instead, there was fear and reverence. The demon race was like this. They were not afraid even if they were the heavenly king. They had to trample them under their feet. Only then would they know fear. The prince of the Pung tribe was about to leave the blood-colored substance when Sima Xiaoxiao suddenly said, "Prince of the Pung tribe, you probably forgot something." The prince of the Pung tribe's face turned ghastly pale. He gritted his teeth and shouted, "This king is the prince of the Pung tribe. How can he become a slave of the human race?" Sima Xiaoxiao swept her cold eyebrows. The icy aura made the prince of the Pung tribe involuntarily shiver. After the Jiuxuan's heavenly selection, let the Pung king give an explanation to master. Sima Xiaoxiao said coldly. Her figure flashed and left the blood-colored substance. The prince of the Pung tribe also returned to the spell altar. After suffering such a heavy setback and leaving behind such a huge trouble, he hung his head dejectedly and did not say a word. He completely became obedient. The terrifying strength that Sima Xiaoxiao displayed caused the other geniuses to sink into silence. Wudao City was also silent. This female demon gave people the feeling that she was undefeatable. The second match was Jing Tsang versus the heaven-devouring divine python. The two's strength was on par. However, Jing Tsang relied on his incomparably tenacious willpower to persevere to the end and defeated the heaven-devouring divine python. The next match once again caught everyone's attention. One side was Gu Tianqi and the other side was Su Fang. Gu Tianqi's handsome face revealed weakness, but his eyes were very determined. "Su Fang, I'm ashamed of my inferiority to the current you. However, I must fight with you." Su Fang smiled faintly. His eyes also flickered with a strong battle intent. "Back then, you used the great taboo-breaking art to imprison me. I never had the chance to settle this debt with you. Today's opportunity is just right. Among the divine abilities that I have, the strongest one is the new divine ability that I obtained from Shirua Valley. Unfortunately, I'm not proficient enough. I've only used it once before. It's difficult for me to use it now. Now, only the great taboo-breaking art and the life-seizing reversal art are left. If you can break these two divine abilities of mine, you win." Chapter 29-22. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The other human geniuses and experts of the demon race were all focused on Su Fang and Gu Tianqi. Although Gu Tianqi's strength was not as glorious as Dongshuan's, he was still a top genius of the Eastern Xian divine domain and had mastered powerful abilities. Even if he did not have the chance to fight for the top three, he could still fight for the 4th to 6th place. With Gu Tianqi's current state, the possibility of him defeating Su Fang was not high, but he could at least force Su Fang to use his trump card and test Su Fang's true strength. Gu Tianqi cupped his fists and bowed solemnly to Su Fang, then waved his hand and a dozen black seeds floated around him. "Su Fang, these are the seeds of the Ghost Fang Black Locust. I will use the Art of Life-Seizing Reversal to grow these seeds. Be careful, the Ghost Fang Black Locust is not only poisonous, its poisonous thorns are extremely sharp and can break through the defense of supreme profound armor." Gu Tianqi first warned, then an aura of endless vicissitudes surged out of his body. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The surrounding black seeds were enveloped by the aura of time and sprouted rapidly, growing into black locust trees with poisonous thorns that looked like the teeth of evil spirits. My master's seal of 10 directions. The Art of Life-Seizing Reversal was a peerless ability of the great Tao of time. It could rapidly grow a life form from a nurturing state to an adult state, thus gaining the powerful strength of an adult in a short period of time. The Art of Life-Seizing Reversal was a peerless ability second only to the great taboo art in the 3 sovereign mysterious sects. Su Fang did not dare to be careless and immediately used the My Master's seal of 10 directions. In an instant, A terrifying divine aura that could suppress the heavens, the earth, the east, the west, the south, the north, the life, the death, the past, and the future enveloped Gu Tianqi and the Ghostfang black locust trees. Su Fang was like the embodiment of heaven's will at this moment. He was the only one in the world. The Ghostfang black locust trees stopped growing. The power that caused them to grow in reverse was completely sealed. Even Gu Tianqi was shackled. Gu Tianqi was not shocked, but overjoyed as he shouted, "This is the peerless ability you obtained in Shui Valley? Good, thank you, Su Fang." Seeing that he was about to be shackled by Su Fang, he actually cheered loudly. Previously, when Su Fang fought with the other geniuses, he did not use his most powerful divine ability. At this moment, he used it on Gu Tianqi as a form of respect. "Su Fang, let's see if your peerless great divine ability is stronger or if my great forbidden art is stronger." Gu Tianqi laughed out loud. Hundreds of spiritual thoughts were released, exploding with endless amounts of energy. Wherever the divine might swept out, time stopped and space froze. A supreme will instantly soared into the sky. Rumble! When the grand taboo shattering technique collided with the power of my master's 10 directions seal, it was as if a world-destroying power had erupted. Space-time became chaotic from the collision, and the laws began to collapse. The blood-colored matter also began to shatter. With a thought from the Jiuxuan expert, the blood-red substance stabilized. When the aftershock of the collision subsided, a deep ravine appeared on the ground between Su Fang and Gu Tianqi. It was like an abyss, and there was also a tear in space. Gu Tianqi stared at Su Fang. "How much of your strength did you use this time?" Su Fang answered without hesitation, "More than 90%. Then I feel more at ease. I've lost this battle." Gu Tianqi nodded in relief. Then, he staggered and flew out of the blood-red substance. Su Fang flew back to the altar outside the blood-red substance. A strong sense of confidence rose in his heart. When he first fought with Gu Tianqi had sealed his Dao Palace with the Grand Taboo shattering technique, causing him to lose all his abilities other than his physical body. He was beaten back to his original form and almost became immortal. At that time, Gu Tianqi was like a tall mountain that he had to look up to. How many years had it been? Now, he had surpassed the mountain that was Gu Tianqi. A cultivator's cultivation was to surpass one mountain after another to finally reach the pinnacle. Now it was Gu Tianqi. Next, it would be Dongxian Huihuang. However, Dongxian Huihuang was no longer much of a challenge to Su Fang. The one he wanted to surpass the most was Sima Xiaoxiao. The Rock Prince looked at Su Fang with fear in his eyes. This person's ability is shocking indeed. Even this king's son has to use all of his strength to defeat him. The corners of Dongxian Huihuang's lips curled into a disdainful smile. You actually need to use 90% of your strength to defeat Gu Tianqi. It looks like you're not that great after all. If it was before, Dongxian Huihuang would still be wary when he witnessed Su Fang's my lord's Shifang seal. Before the ranking match began, Dongxian Huihuang had received personal guidance from Daozu. This was also the source of his confidence. Witnessing Su Fang's my lord's Shifang seal, Dongxian Huihuang was filled with confidence even though he was shocked. Sima Xiaoxiao's eyes narrowed. His most powerful ability is not this, but that mysterious and incomparably powerful power. Just now, he had only used about 80% of his strength at most, and not 90% as he said. This person is indeed cunning, and also very despicable. The cultivators in Daoless City were shocked as they witnessed the scene in the Blood Valley. Whether it was Gu Tianqi or Su Fang, the strength they displayed had far surpassed the limits of the Daoist Master Realm. They could even crush an ordinary lord of the mystical world. It was only then that the people realized what a true genius was. Once they grew up, they would definitely be the pillars of the human race. It was no wonder that the higher authorities of the Jiuxuan God domain wanted to hold the Jiuxuan God selection again, at all costs. Amidst the shock, cheers erupted in Daoless City. Some female cultivators were especially loud, their throats were almost broken. The tycoons of the Jiuquan were also shocked. First Elder Chang, son of the three highest mysterious sects, had a gloomy expression. First, it was Ling Xingchen's death, then the top disciple Gu Tianqi's consecutive setbacks. Now, even Su Fang had surpassed Gu Tianqi. As the first supreme elder of the three highest mysterious sects, he naturally felt ashamed. Medicine God Dao. Victory! Elder Su Fang has won another round. Even the top disciple of the three highest mysterious sects has lost willingly. The leader of the medicine god Dao and other higher authorities lost their composure after witnessing Su Fang's victory over Gu Tianqi. They could not help but exclaim in excitement. The alchemists and ordinary disciples of the medicine god Dao also understood what was going on. They knew that Elder Su Fang of the medicine god Dao was the peerless genius Su Fang. All of them were excited and felt honored. In the void not far from the medicine god Dao, Zhao Shiqi's expression was frighteningly dark. The purple-faced middle-aged man was so frightened that he held his breath, afraid that Zhao Shiqi would vent his anger on him. In the fourth round, Dongxian Hui Wang easily won a round. Like Sima Xiaoxiao and Su Fang, they had won all 4 rounds. The other geniuses were equally matched in strength, so the competition was very intense. The genius from the Haotian divine realm, Jing Tsang, was heavily injured in his battle with Xu Chongxiao. Xu Chongxiao relied on the strong will of a sword cultivator to hold on until the end and barely won. In the 5th round, Su Fang was lucky enough to meet Jing Tsang. Jing Tsang had to give up this battle and hand over a victory to Su Fang. Sima Xiaoxiao and Dongxian Hui Wang also won a round easily, maintaining a winning record like Su Fang. The Rock Prince fought against Fu Xinai. He vented his anger from losing to Sima Xiaoxiao on Fu Xinai, almost killing him. Due to violating the rules, the Rock Prince was not only warned by Jiuquan experts, he was also judged to have lost the battle, allowing Fu Xinai to win by luck. The 6th round of the competition began. The first match was between Dongxian Hui Wang and the Rock Prince. The Rock Prince suffered consecutive setbacks, but he was still ferocious, engaging in a fierce battle with Dongxian Hui Wang. Dongxian Hui Wang had to use everything he had to deal with it. In the end, he used his most powerful skill, using the supreme Tao of Yin and Yang to form 300 Tao wheels to defeat the Rock Prince. This victory made Dongxian Hui Wang the center of attention once again. However, he had to use his trump card. The consumption of his magical power was shocking as well, causing him to force a smile. In the 6th round, Su Fang's opponent was Xu Chongxiao. In the previous round, Xu Chongxiao had won Jing Tsang by a hair's breadth. He was heavily injured as well, so it was good enough that he could only unleash 30 to 40% of his ability. How could he still fight Su Fang? Just when people thought that Xu Chongxiao would give up on the battle, he flew unsteadily onto the crimson substance. Su Fang, I'm not your opponent, but if I give up, it'll be an insult to you. Therefore, I'll do my best in this battle. Xu Chongxiao was trembling, but his back was straight. His eyes were filled with a strong fighting spirit. Su Fang looked at him with admiration. With a wave of his hand, he rolled out 10 pills and some spiritual items. Shrouded in a xianguang, he flew to Xu Chongxiao and said, "Eat these pills and spiritual items, then fight me." He then cupped his fists at the 3 Jiuquan higher-ups and said, "Sirs, please give me 6 hours to allow Xu Chongxiao to recover." The Jiuquan expert said, "Granted. Thank you, sirs." "Thank you, Su Fang." Xu Chongxiao grabbed the pills and did not take them seriously. He was representing the 3 Taishang mysterious sects in the ranking mat. How could the sect not prepare powerful pills for him? Even the supreme pills and spiritual items given by the sect could not help him recover much in a short period of time. Now that Su Fang had given him pills and spiritual items, he only took it as Su Fang's goodwill. he did not expect them to be of much use. Dongxian Hui Huang smirked coldly and said, "He's just buying people's hearts." Shu Chongxiao held the pills in his hand and was stunned. These 10 pills were not ordinary pills. They were the ancient pills that Shi Xian Daozu had rewarded Su Fang. Although they were only at the pinnacle of upper class, their medicinal power far surpassed pills of the same level. The spiritual items were extraordinary as well. They were all spiritual items born from the 6 extreme Tao Saints' celestial body and could be used to recover cultivation base rapidly. Su Fang had used up a lot of the spiritual items inside the 6 extreme Tao Saints' celestial body when he was ascending to Daozu. There were not many left. Chapter 29-23. Su Fang is actually helping Shu Chongxiao to recover? He didn't take advantage of his opponent's perilous state but helped him instead. A cultivator like Su Fang is a true cultivator. I'm completely convinced. Whether Su Fang can take first place or not, I'm convinced. Many Dongxian cultivators watched the scene. Some were confused by Su Fang's actions while others were impressed by Su Fang's character. Dongxuan's powerhouses were all cunning old foxes. Naturally, they could see Su Fang's intention with a single glance. Grand Elder Zhangsun of the 3 highest mystical sects snorted coldly. Using such a method to buy people's hearts is truly childish and laughable. The Grand Elder of Luo Shao Sword Sect laughed while stroking his beard. Su Fang, this child, although I know he's trying to buy people's hearts, I still find him pleasing to the eye. It's a pity that there's no outstanding woman among my descendants. Otherwise, I'd definitely make her Su Fang's Tao companion. 6 hours later, Shu Chongxiao sat cross-legged on the crimson substance, fusing with the ancient pills and spiritual items. His aura had obviously changed. Although he was still far from his peak state, he was no longer as dispirited as before. He had at least recovered 10 to 20% of his strength. The scene shocked everyone once again. They all thought that Su Fang came from a low-level universe. In terms of resources, he could not compare to top forces like Tiange, the 3 highest mystical sects, and the Luo Shao Sword Sect. They did not expect that the pills and spiritual items that Su Fang offered were much more powerful than the Luo Shao Sword Sect. At the same time, they were impressed by Su Fang's generosity. Those cultivators who thought that Su Fang was trying to buy people's hearts were completely convinced by Su Fang. Shu Chongxiao exclaimed, "What amazing pills and spiritual items! They're much more powerful than the top pills and spiritual items that the sect gave me." Su Fang, thank you. Su Fang smiled faintly. We're only opponents, not enemies. That's right. No matter the outcome, I, Shu Chongxiao, will definitely befriend you, Shu Chongxiao said with a nod. Then, he changed the topic of conversation. Although you've given me medicinal pills and spiritual items to recover, I'll still do my best. Su Fang said, that's how it should be. Otherwise, you would be looking down on my Su Fang. Soaring Sword Qi. Shu Chongxiao suddenly turned into a peerless divine sword, and a sharp sword essence gushed out from his body. Qi. Qi. Sword Qi crisscrossed, enveloping Su Fang, causing him to disappear from everyone's sight. All they could see was the boundless sword Qi. Su Fang was in the world of sword Qi, shackled by the astonishing sword will. Cloud-splitting heaven-cleaving sword. Shu Chongxiao suddenly let out a thunderous roar and put his palms together. In the sword Qi world, the green clouds above churned. Then, a huge green sword Qi tore through the green clouds and stabbed into the shackled space in the sword Qi world. Qi. 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 The sword Qi in the sword Qi world, layer upon layer, surged toward the shackled Su Fang like a tide. Su Fang, the cloud-splitting heaven-cleaving sword, is a supreme sword technique that I obtained in Shirua Valley. Its power surpasses any magic that I've learned in Luo Shao Sword Sect. Although I can only exert half of its power now, it can still hurt you. You have to be careful. It seemed that Su Fang could not escape the fate of being killed by the sword Qi. Shu Chongxiao shouted loudly to remind Su Fang. Who knew Su Fang merged the blood evil Dharma body with his physical body and performed the blood prison soul slashing sword. A blood prison quickly appeared, shattering the shackles of the surrounding world. Whoosh! A blood-red Su Fang rose slowly like a killing god, and a sword light rolled out like a river of blood. With an explosion, the huge green sword Qi was immediately shattered under the sweeping sword light. The other sword Qi also collapsed, and the entire sword Qi world began to collapse. Although Shu Chongxiao's sword technique was powerful, it was a pity that he was severely injured and could not exert too much power. Su Fang performed the blood prison soul slashing sword with the blood evil Dharma body, and it was enough to neutralize Shu Chongxiao's most powerful attack. Shu Chongxiao staggered and shouted, "I've lost," the Jiuxuan expert shouted. Su Fang versus Shu Chongxiao, Su Fang wins. I didn't expect my strongest attack to be so weak in front of you. Shu Chongxiao admitted defeat helplessly, and there was a look of disappointment in his eyes. He could see the gap between himself and Su Fang, and his Dao heart was also damaged. Su Fang said in a low voice, "A cultivator has to experience many failures and setbacks before he can move forward. If you are only obsessed with winning or losing, your Dao heart will be damaged because of failure, and you will never be able to recover. I look down on such a Shu Chongxiao. Thank you for your advice." Shu Chongxiao showed a cruel expression and bowed to Su Fang with his fists clasped, as if he was receiving advice from a senior. Back on the altar, Gu Tianqi's voice rang out, "Su Fang, congratulations on winning 6 matches in a row." The Prince of the Rock tribe laughed coldly. Next, it's time for consecutive defeats. It was unknown if Su Fang was lucky or if the Jiuxuan experts had done it intentionally during the drawing of lots, but Su Fang had not fought with the Prince of the Rock tribe, Dongxian Huihuang, or Sima Xiaoxiao until now. Next, Su Fang would face 3 strong opponents who had the ability to fight for the top 3. The outcome would be difficult to predict. Su Fang retorted bluntly, "How can a cultivator be undefeated? Failure is normal, but at least I, Su Fang, will not be defeated by a big goblin like you." The Prince of the Rock tribe snorted coldly. "You humans have a saying, you won't fall until you see your coffin. It describes people like you." Su Fang said indifferently, "Let's wait and see." After the 6th round, Su Fang, Dongxian Huihuang, and Sima Xiaoxiao continued to remain undefeated while the others had their wins and losses. In the Eastern Xian Divine Realm, Su Fang and Dongxian Huihuang were both undefeated. This lifted the spirits of all the Eastern Xian cultivators. Some even thought that Su Fang or Dongxian Huihuang might have a chance of winning the first place. Dongxian Huihuang had a higher chance of winning. After all, he had already fought the Prince of the Rock tribe and won. Not only did Su Fang have to face the Prince of the Rock tribe, he also had to face 2 strong opponents in Dongxian Huihuang and Sima Xiaoxiao. In the eyes of the crowd, the chances of him winning another 3 matches were slim. After 6 hours of rest, the 7th round begins. The Jiuxuan experts announced loudly. The top 10 geniuses who were sitting cross-legged on the altar stood up and looked at the Jiuxuan experts. The Prince of the Rock tribe transmitted his thoughts to Su Fang. "Human child, you better pray that you don't meet this king. Otherwise, this king will tear you into pieces." Su Fang smiled nonchalantly, ignoring the big goblin who did not learn his lesson. The Jiuxuan expert rolled up his sleeves and 10 Xian Guang flew out, quickly condensing into 10 luminous balls above the crimson substance. Then, the Jiuxuan expert's thoughts moved and the 2 luminous balls collided. Light splashed everywhere and turned into 2 shadows. What a coincidence! The 2 shadows were Su Fang and the Prince of the Rock tribe. "Su Fang, I've finally met you. Consider yourself unlucky." The Prince of the Rock tribe cackled wildly, stepping onto the crimson substance with a violent gust of wind. Gu Tianqi transmitted his thoughts to Su Fang. "Su Fang, be careful. If you can't beat him, give up this match and secure second place. Su Fang smiled faintly and replied, Do you think so little of me? Gu Tianqi shook his head with a smile when he saw his confidence. It looks like you've been conserving your strength. I'm worried for nothing. In Daola City, many Eastern Xian cultivators grew nervous. The entire city fell into silence. Dongshuan's powerhouses were also discussing this match. Su Fang is in danger now. The Prince of the Rock Tribe is extraordinary, but he has already lost 3 matches. It shouldn't be difficult for Su Fang to defeat him. Su Fang defeating the Prince of the Rock Tribe is expected, but even if he wins, it'll be a Pyrrhic victory. Next, Su Fang will face Dongxian Hui Huang and Sima Xiaoxiao. If he's injured or exhausted in this match, it'll be difficult for him to defeat Dongxian Hui Huang, let alone Sima Xiaoxiao. Dongshuan's powerhouses were not optimistic. In addition, they were all peerless experts. Their judgment was usually close to the mark. Tuo Qianji, who was sitting high on the throne, smirked when he heard the crowd's discussion. Zhao Shiqi, the yellow-robed youth of the divine tribe, who was far away from the medicine god avenue, stared at the image on the mirror Xian Bao and chuckled coldly. Su Fang, let's see how arrogant you can be next. On the crimson substance, the battle between Su Fang and the Prince of the Rock Tribe was about to break out. Sima Xiaoxiao suddenly spoke, Su Fang, this demon is my slave. You can't hurt him. Who would have thought? Sima Xiaoxiao actually looked down on the Prince of the Rock Tribe so much? The Prince of the Rock Tribe's eyes glinted fiercely as he gritted his teeth. Su Fang snorted coldly, I can't guarantee it. Human child, how can I allow you to be so arrogant in front of this king? This king will tear you apart. The Prince of the Rock Tribe's ferocious nature was completely triggered. With a shrill howl, he teleported to Su Fang's side in a flash. Buzz. Su Fang activated the wasp wing Xian Bao and sped away from where he was before the Prince of the Rock Tribe arrived. The Rock Tribe was most adept at speed. It was said that no other demon could compare to them among the demon race. However, Su Fang's wasp wing Xian Bao allowed Su Fang to have the ability to teleport. Within a small area, the Prince of the Rock Tribe could hardly surpass Su Fang's speed. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Su Fang and the Prince of the Rock Tribe displayed astonishing speed. It was almost impossible to see their figures. Everyone watched with rapt attention, especially Su Fang. He was repeatedly praised by the 3 higher-ups of the Jioshuan tribe. Su Fang suddenly appeared behind the Prince of the Rock Tribe. His left arm shook violently as he activated his physical strength and punched the Prince of the Rock Tribe's back. The Prince of the Rock Tribe staggered from the shock. His body flashed 3,000 feet away. After stabilizing his body, he spat out several mouthfuls of blood. Su Fang smiled indifferently, in terms of speed, you can't do it. As if he had been humiliated, the Prince of the Rock Tribe let out a cold shout. The innate ability of the Rock Tribe isn't just speed. As soon as he finished speaking, he suddenly swept up an incomparably powerful gust of wind. It transformed into a huge claw that was 1,000 feet long and charged towards Su Fang. Break.